Good evening, my fellow exiles. I hope everyone is doing well today. In today's stream, Thursday stream, we will be playing some Path of Exile 2. We have a podcast with Snoobe85, which will begin in about an hour from now. Timestamps, of course, will be in the description. And beyond that, I'm not too sure what else we shall be doing. I suppose to start off the stream, I wanted to have a little bit of a serious discussion, okay? Because the thumbnail is, I think, let GGG cook, question mark, okay? And I've been debating on what to call this particular stream. And since we've last spoke, you know, I've talked to a good chunk of people in the community. What was it, 2 days ago? And I'm trying to pick my words carefully here. And it appears in an attempt to really come off as measured on this, you know, quite polarizing topic of this game, whose music you probably hear in the background right now, Path of Exile 2. I am hurting a lot of people's feelings and still sounding like I am drowning out people who don't like the game, people who have criticism of the game, and all the rest. And I'm trying to grapple with it quite a bit, you guys. I'm really trying to think critically about the way I'm communicating and where it might be going wrong. Obviously, the last podcast we did was with Kalparak. It was a great chat. I thought we were pretty fair. You know, when we got a little spicy, I know that we did a big preface of we're talking about individuals who are getting very heated about all this stuff, you know, right? The world is very tribalistic, and that's what we were kind of talking about. This, like, tribalism is bad, and in kind of doing that, we're like tribalistic is what I'm like trying to get at. And I re-listened to that whole podcast because some people that I really respect kind of called me out privately on it. And I re-listened to that whole section. And aside from one thing, I'm going to sound like a total, I don't know what the right word is, total narcissist here. Is that the right word? Aside from one section of that, I don't think I was dismissive or said anything hurtful at all. You know, there's one thing that I said in that whole podcast about this topic that I disagree with now, or I don't think I explained well at all. And that is, yeah, and all these Path of Exile 1 players who are upset, the really upset ones, the furious ones, typing out essays and going in on people. What they want is Path of Exile 1 and Path of Exile 2. And I think that was pretty, like, I don't know, dismissive. And maybe it's because I don't feel like I have to go and give a wall of context before each time I discuss this topic, but I don't know. It's an interesting conversation, and the chat with Snoobe tonight, it's gonna focus a little bit on that. There's a lot of different things to chat about here. You'll also notice a lot of people who, you know, stopped playing PoE2, they're back, they're playing again, so I think maybe some opinions might shift a little bit with all the changes that Grinding Gear Games has done. We'll see though. But, you know, a quiet stream, a chill stream tonight, you guys. What's going on, Vladis? Hey, Lima. Hey, Poetic. What's happening, man? Dry takes will be balanced and not really polarizing, but Snoobe sounds really better regarding PoE1 and PoE2 player-based divide. I don't know if I think he's just... I agree with a lot of Snoobe's takes. I think he's just more, like, biting. I don't know if bitter is the right word, but he's just more, like, straight to the point. I talk using a lot of words because that's just how I talk in That's how I talk in casual conversation. A lot of the time, that's how I am on the streams. And I think Snoobag gets right to the point, you know? Maybe if you explain your points, people understand better your POV. I don't know what happened, though. Hey, yeah, Christopher. No, I mean, my takes are really at a very high level. This is what I believe, and it makes a lot of people upset. I think that Path of Exile 2 has the chance to be something different from PoE1, right? However, it's kind of bogged down by being named Path of Exile 2, taking a bunch, 80% of the systems from PoE1 and transferring it into the game. The developers have this different idea for the game, and they're kind of wishy-washy in what they want to do with it. And there's a lot of players who want it to be a very specific type of game. They want it to be a grinding, loot-based action RPG where you don't get like a ton of resistance, right? There's not a lot of friction. You don't have to really engage with the encounters a lot, right? And in my opinion is, right, there's a lot in this space for that already. Last Epoch, PoE1, Diablo 4, all those games. But not only that, here's another thing that I think I diverge a lot. A lot of ARPG players, like, okay, a lot of like content creators, right? And I think a lot of players too. A lot of people who participate in online spaces and discuss ARPGs. So here, YouTube comments and live streams and Discords and Reddit threads. They're talking about the dream, right? The dream is playing Last Epoch for 2 weeks, playing Diablo 4 for 2 weeks, playing PoE1 for 2 weeks, playing PoE2 for 2 weeks, and just like constantly rotating through the games, like finishing the game and then going to the next game. Does that make sense to you guys? Like they love this idea, right? I don't think I'm that kind of guy, and I guess I'm not afraid to say that. And I would be okay if Grinding Gear Games didn't design PoE2 with that in mind, right? Where you can just finish the game in 2 weeks, you know, you grind hard, you play 14 hours a day, you play the markets, and you blast, right? A lot of people want that. They want the 4-hour, 5-hour, 6-hour, 7-hour campaign, whatever. You know, day one campaign, they really want that. And I'm really weird because I don't necessarily want that. Like, I'm open to these different experiences, these different ideas. I don't think I'm going to ever be the person who goes from PoE2 to Torchlight Infinite to Last Epoch to D4 to, I don't know, a random other ARPG that comes out in 5 years, right? If they want to make a game that is like playable for long periods of time, like this league is, like, guys, I'm not playing like a ton, but I'm still really enjoying myself. I'm progressing slowly. How long have I played? Let's just take a look. I've played one character this league, pretty much. 2.5 hours on another character, my warrior. Okay. And remember, it's early access. There's like no content in the game. There's a ton of broken stuff. 1 day, 21 hours over the past month. Like, that's like a good chunk. And I still am nowhere near like completion, right? I'm not done, you know? I don't know. So I'm like more open to the game being very different. And I think that can cause some people to think that I don't care about Path of Exile 1 players' feelings or opinions, or I'm a shill for Grinding Gear Games because I defend them when they do, you know, in my opinion, really cool stuff that other people don't like, or then when they do really bad stuff, I give them the benefit of the doubt. I'm like, yeah, that's bad. Why the heck did that happen? There must have been a mistake on that, right? So I don't know. I'm still like, I guess I'm still finding the right way to communicate this. Because obviously the way I communicate to a lot of people is very off-putting in the space. It's just off-putting. I pride myself in being a good communicator. And that's why I care so greatly when my communication fails so badly that people who I know are intelligent, who are knowledgeable, who I respect, right? Misconstrue my words, or I'm just not communicating effectively enough. And I don't know. It's okay. That's me. I'm really trying to think about this stuff, by the way. When is the Expedition 33 stream? No spoilers. I got to Act 2 last night. No spoilers. No spoilers. I cry as I'm entering Act 2. I cry right at the beginning, and then I stop crying as I'm entering Act 2. I cry right at the beginning of Act 2. I stop crying. And then I cry again. And I stop crying. And then I cry again. Like, what? I'm like, yeah, surely I'm not going to cry again, guys. Nope. And then there's another cry. So 4 cries in total in that whole closing of Act 1, intro to Act 2. Yeah, I'm just like a very passionate person about all these things. And I care so much about... I don't know. I just care about everybody. And that's so weird to say. I don't know. Oh. I just... Okay. I have not been reading chat. I got to catch up on chat. PoE1 tards are trying to ruin my game vibe as a watcher of both channels, in my opinion. PoE1 tards are trying to ruin my game. We're going to talk about that tonight. I don't think he's exactly saying that, but I do understand how you can interpret, you know, some of his videos like that. Recent reviews on Steam are mostly negative. 100%. And guess what? If you go and read those Steam reviews, like I said in the last podcast, they're good. They actually... They are giving good feedback. I'm not... I don't know. When I'm talking about the polarization in the community, guys, I'm not talking about the negative Steam reviews. I'm not talking about the hundreds of Reddit threads that had, like, you know, bullet points written out on feedback. I'm not talking about people saying, yeah, the game is bad for X, Y, and Z. Even the people who are saying, like, the game is dog shit, but then giving reasons. I'm not talking about those people. Maybe because I read so much conversation about the game and I read the comments that YouTube flags, that I'm like more exposed to this, and it's like it's more of a raw wound, right? Guys, I get people calling me you know, what, I don't know how this works on YouTube. I get people like calling me a pedophile because I like Path of Exile 2, and I'm convincing all of you to like it. I had a string of 20 different commenters accounts that I had to shadow ban from my channel because people were saying, wow, you're probably a pedophile because the way you talk about Path of Exile 2 is so reminiscent of the way that pedophiles lure children. Like, those are the people that that's what I'm talking about. And then those people are far more active in the community because they're so furiously angry about, like, the game, the way I speak about it, the way that some people in the community talk about it, and their voices are amplified a lot of the time because they're posting on all these Reddit threads. They're posting under my Twitter account. My YouTube videos not anymore because they're shadow banned. Sorry guys, if you're here watching, you're shadow banned. I have no qualm. I will encourage all sorts of criticism and debate. You can call me a shill. You can call me, you know, a sucker for GGG. Anything. I don't care. I'm not going to shadow ban you. You start calling me like crazy slurs and stuff, though, and going absolutely animalistic in the comment, you're done. You're gone. You're gone. Out of there. Anyway. PoE2 has so much more build diversity than people assume. It feels like PoE1 if you're willing to experiment, just not the degenerate version. Okay, so that's another cool, that's an interesting point that I wanted to, we're going to talk about that with Snoobe. I think you're kind of right. I think you're right. Okay. There's one part I want to contest on that, and that's like with meta builds, like with Lightning Spear. Look at Lightning Spear versus like, okay, Lightning Spear versus Lightning Strike in like PoE1. In PoE1, the meta builds, there's so many different facets you can edit to make it your own. Like I played in Settlers of Kalgurk, you know, the first time, not Redux number 7. I played not Perforate. Oh goodness, it's the bleeding one. Is it Perforate? I think it's Perforate. Maybe it's Perforate. It's the slashing, the gladiator, you know, bleed slash, right? So many different ways to build that. Oh my god. And I could make it my own, and I could tweak and try all these different things. Like with Lightning Spear, right? The meta version of Lightning Spear, like if people find the meta build and solve it, there's not a lot of like tools, but that's obviously because the game does not have a ton of content in it, right? So hopefully that changes over time, and it will be just like that. Okay. Oh gosh, I'm losing chat. I'm so far behind. Oh no. You are a good communicator, but your communication is purely opt-in. They only see clips of you and form opinions on those small moments. That is possible, but a lot of these people are like comments. For example, Stone Deluxe. And on these podcasts, which are long, they're like an hour, right? So a great example from the last video. Somebody left a comment and it got, you know, like 20 likes on the video. And they quoted me when I said, if you don't enjoy something, don't engage with it. They like quoted me and then said, I could smell toxic positivity on this channel, but now I know it's definitely for real. You know, good thing I don't want the game to improve. That's the comment. And that's lacking all context. That entire conversation is talking about the people who are furiously writing curse-laden, you know, 4-paragraph long comments and saying that Jonathan Rogers needs to be thrown out of Grind Gear Games and the game is effing cooked and, you know, it's absolute dog shit and it's destroyed and it's never going to recover and it's just a way to destroy Path of Exile 1 and blah, 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 like all the, and that's who I was addressing. That's like the 5%, maybe the 5%, right? That's who we were talking about. But then those voices are amplified because then there's a quiet percent that might like think it's funny or it speaks with them in some way, even if that's not how they would say it. It resonates with them, so they upvote it, right? And then it rises to the top, and crazy stuff like that rises to the top. And I was saying to that sort of stuff, don't engage with it. Great example, I think personally. There's a lot of drama going around with like, we're gonna get political, but not political, with like Hasanabi, Ethan Klein, H3H3, Asmongold, Tectone, all this stuff. And it's just an endless circle of mindlessness, shit throwing. I don't see how engaging like that, like a lot of people do, is healthy. You know, when you're just saying, oh, based, and oh yeah, you shitter, and like stuff like that's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about the people who are like well-intentioned. Obviously I wasn't, but then, you know, it's quoted out of, it's, you know, just a line, and then they're like, you're toxically positive. You want to quell all people speaking out against this game that you think is perfect. To which I say, just by the way, let's just look. This podcast talking a ton about feedback, whole bunch of feedback in this podcast. Okay, this one, you know, was just an update video, right? But we talked about, you know, things I had problems with still. This was literally a 37-minute essay, basically, on the problems with PoE2 and the current state of it and what GGG can do to improve. This 1 hour, 7-minute podcast was all about feedback. Off Meta Michael has been cooking, toasting Grinding Gear Games in a healthy way. W Off Meta Michael. I don't agree with all of his takes, but I want to signal boost that to the extreme because he is doing what I'm talking about. 100%. Off Meta Michael rocks. Can't shout him up enough. This 3-hour podcast was all about feedback for PoE2. All about, literally. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. My 6 last videos are all talking about issues with the game and how we can improve the game. How am I just a toxic, positive, chill for GGG? It's so confusing. It's to the point where I'm just basically filtering it out of my mind, right? Okay, I need to read my comments. Oh gosh, there's so many. Getting that mad about a $30 game is wild. What's all about me? What? Hey, moderator one. I don't know what you're talking about, bro. I can't see all the comments. I need to wobble my head. Okay, so you're... This is what I'm talking about. By the way, this is my stream. I can talk about whatever the hell I want. Hey, Marek, what's happening? Also, PoE2 just came out. PoE1 has 10 years of depth. Yeah, it's going to get better. There's a lot of problems. Most wholesome dude getting that is wild. No, but I rub some people the wrong way. I totally get that. I do. I rub a lot of people the wrong way. And I really don't mean to. And I legit care that I rub people the wrong way. I hate it. I want to fix it. I want to make sure that, you know, when you write like an essay that you think is great, you turn it in. I haven't wrote an essay in freaking years. But you write an essay that you think is great. You turn it into a professor you love. And they send it back to you, and it's like a B-, and they give you a whole bunch of like honest critique, and it really helps you think about the way you word things next time. That's how I feel right now. Like I talk to a few people, and I see kind of what they're saying, and I'm really gonna try to improve. Just I don't know if it's like my tone or the words that I use. I don't know. I'm thinking about it. Lacerate. Thank you, Velatis. Jeez, thank you. Thank you, Velatis. It was Lacerate. Yeah, you're right. You're right. Big problem I have with PoE2 currently is if I try to play builds that not meta, I will just get surrounded by monsters and die. You're right. A lot of builds are like that. I totally get that. Especially if like I don't think I could make a build that could overcome things. You need to have a screen clearing build in endgame or you will get surrounded and die. I'll say this again in case you lost the message. Keltrak is right wherein he said you are a need in every gaming community. Poetic Hitman, I really appreciate it. I really do appreciate that. I mean, I'm people who are saying I need to grow a backbone and like that I'm too emotional. You are bang on. I seriously care too much. Okay, like I said, I cried 4 times transferring from Act 1 to Act 2 in Expedition 33. I am emotional as all hell. Where are these giant posts? Reddit? I don't see this. You're exaggerating. They censor on the forum. One sec. Best PoE2. How do you... I don't even know how to freaking use Reddit. Okay. How do I like... Gosh, guys. How do I... Okay, sort by best. No, sort by top. How can I change my timeline? Ah, okay. Okay, here you go. Month? Right? Oh, no. I gotta go to the first days. So, this year? I don't know how to freaking filter this. Here. Man, some of these PoE2 posts are so good. Here you go. This is what I'm talking about. So I just went to the subreddit. Who are you? Somebody, I lost your name. Ah, Hatchet. I went to like a PoE2 subreddit. This is where I'm talking about, partially. And I just went to this year. I can't like do the date range. What I wanted was the first 4 days of the league. Because that's what I'm really talking about. And you're right, some of these posts did get locked. Some of the posts that I'm directly referencing are, there were a few posts about, you know, it's time to effing get rid of Mark and Jonathan and stuff like that. You know, like they need to go with a lot of very charged language. and people were literally like flinging threats of violence in the post. I think the moderators removed this. But like right here, where was a good one? This was the new like I think this is funny. This is so good. This was during the first little bit. This is a shit post, but it's such a good it's good. It's good. I think this is good feedback. Feedback from a white mob. Hello, I am a white mob at Act 3. I wanted to let GGG know that I'm loving the new patch. I hear that in other ARPGs, my fellow white mob friends just get nuked by human players. I am so happy that Grinding Your Games delivered on their promise to give me meaningful combat. I have more speed than the human players. This way I get to reach them. They try to run and dodge roll, but thanks to the new 3-second stun mechanic, I get many of them eventually. As a white mob, I love that almost every support gem or unique item comes with an upside for us mobs. For example, the multiple projectiles support... What was that? Thank you for the cheer, Penguin Patasso.
Brother, I'd wish you wouldn't change. But if you think it's best for you, I'd be happy to follow along the journey together with everyone that really enjoys your work.
I did not know that. What is this text to speech? I didn't enable anything. Thank you, Penguin Patasso. I appreciate it, man. I'm not going to change. I'm just trying to think about how I can word things better to not, like, hurt people's feelings. Although, you know, because I care. I'm not changing anything. No, I still have my same opinions. Where was I? Thank you. Honestly, first I was concerned there was one row direct nerf for us white mobs in the 20 pages of .2 patch notes. My armor got reduced with 30%, but then I remembered that armor is shit, so it's okay. The best part is that GGG introduced this wonderful policy of treating early access as a full 1.0 release because of money. I'm okay. Well, I don't know if I agree with that. I mean success. Well, I guess I kind of see what they're saying. Like, people are gonna leave and they won't, you know, they won't keep buying stuff from the game because their builds get busted. Yeah, I mean success. Because of success. So I get to keep my power in stunning to death those pesky human players until at least August. Well, joke's on him. But I bet this post probably influenced Grinding Gear Games to make changes, like a lot of the negative Steam reviews. Thank you, Grinding Gear Games, for making PoE2 a wonderful game to be a white mob in. I already recommended the game to my other white mob friends from games like Last Epoch and D4 to come by and try it. I heard it was really bad for white mobs there. It sounds like players get to experience all the fun, but here GGG prioritizes my fun first, so I will continue to be a loyal white Act 3 mob in PoE2. Thank you, GGG. Like, this is a funny post, right? Here. This was also one of the most hilarious memes ever. Yeah, I don't... This is one of them, but I don't think... This was like... This was a good post. A lot of the negative posts that I'm talking about, I don't see here. Feel like I feel like, where is it? Not that one. This one is excellent. These are great. This is the kind of feedback that are that's awesome. If you look at the Steam reviews as well, a lot of the Steam reviews are awesome. Some of the memes on here are very, very good. Jesus. No one is going to complain about bad endgame if they can't finish the campaign. Man, that was a wild league start. Oh my god. See, and there's the complaint that somebody was talking about. That people were... The reason people removed this stuff is because there was some attacks in there. That's basically it. Okay, back to reading comments. Hate culture is definitely not healthy. By the time you get to this comment, it'll be referencing something you said like 20 minutes ago. Yeah, hate culture is not healthy. I agree. Filter incorrect. That's okay. The real issue with PoE2, PoE1 is the top ARPG by a huge margin. We all have thousands of hours into PoE1, but I can't bring myself to play PoE2 for more than 100 hours. And those hours are fun-ish. So here's my take, my man. What is it? Jonathan Freezy. I would hope PoE1 is like better than PoE2 right now. I know that's crazy. I know that's crazy. I feel like Grinding Gear Games has put themselves in a pretty shite position. I do. Because this game And the way that they have decided to release it, very fun for many of us, but it's also very broken. It's very segmented. You know, they have 3 acts of the campaign, and they have, you know, the half-baked endgame. They have 8 character classes, right? They have partial ascendancy classes. There's missing skills for weapons. A lot of the passive tree is just not tested, right? So they released it, they're monetizing it, they're treating it like a full release, they're not doing constant balance patches, yet it is a beta. Some could argue it's an alpha. It is not a released product, but they are treating it like a released product. I feel like that's a problem. They're trying to have their cake and eat it too. I feel like they are doing that for monetary purposes. Yes, they had to get it out eventually. That's what I really do feel like there was some pressure there. And I do understand that sort of anger. It's definitely not for a lot of people, especially if you like, you know, blasting, if you like build craft, if you like the item chase, all that sort of stuff. That's not at PoE 1's level yet. You are bang on, and you will not enjoy PoE 2 more if that's what you like more. If you're like myself, and you are, you know, I constantly insult myself. Maybe I should stop insulting myself. But if you're like, you know, small brain like me, and you just like, ooh, cool colors. Ooh, I like the way this sounds. Ooh, I'm just gonna play for 30 minutes, and if I get a good item, cool, but I'm not really chasing anything. Like, I'm just buying stuff from trade at this point. I'm just exploring the world. I like the monsters. I do feel like there is some semblance of meaningful combat, at least because I do look at like the monsters and what they do if they don't die in one hit, and it's a tanky rare, and I like the boss fights. I like all that sort of stuff. Then you'll like PoE 2. But I don't know if that's the classic top-down isometric ARPG player's fantasy right now. So you're kind of you're stuck then, right? Oh, look, it's like I read, I pre-read. I feel that a lot of the vitriol is stemming from the fact that we are paying them to play test. They don't seem to value our time. Yeah, Blue Gito, I feel like refunds should be cheaper or non-existent, and they should be very clear that once the game is released into 1.0, all that's out the window. You know, you're gonna have to pay to respec. All right, I got you, dude. Also, PoE 1 is the sacrificial lamb on the altar for an incomplete early access. That is the bet. I will keep saying it ad infinitum, and I hope this doesn't come off as like mean or dismiss. The best thing for Path of Exile 2 is a good Path of Exile 1 expansion in June and consistent Path of Exile 1 expansions thereafter. Please, 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 please. Grind your games. It would be big. Stop being happy, try ruining everybody's mood. I'm not even being that happy. I'm kind of being an ass right now. I have 1,500 hours in the first patch alone. Loot buff as much as possible. I need the game to be optimized better because mobs don't even load in for me anymore. Oh my god, dude. SM Kink. Maybe your computer's broken. That's a lot of time. I'm not trying to use the it's early access excuse. No. I'm really trying not to use that, man. Because that's the thing. Like, I see what you're saying. What is going on? Like, they worked. I feel David Cooper, man. I feel like there was something had to have happened with the development process on this behind the scenes. Like, I used to play Guild Wars 2 a lot, and they had entire like content systems scrapped that were almost ready to shit at the final hour that they would spend loads of time. I'm almost curious if something like that happened with PoE 2. I don't know, because when we saw it in 2019, like Act 1 was good chunk done, right? We saw parts of Act 2. In 2023, we saw like all of Act 4. We know Act 1 was really far along. Act 2 was probably very far along too. Mr. Vintage, man, thanks for the whoa, freaking 20 what? The 20 bucks, dude? Thank you. My only 2 issues with PoE 2 are long campaign is hostile to altaholics like me, and the lack of crafting is funneling people in the trade, which is horrible, awful experience. Yeah, I totally agree. I can't do SSF. I don't have the time. The crafting for someone who plays as much as myself is not existent. 40 hours. I've never used the Recombinator, guys. 40 hours in. 0 recombination. I'm gonna open up the window a little bit. Yeah, 40 hours. Not enough stuff for recombination. I'm bad. Hey, Maruk. There's no fixing pleasing. Yeah, I really like PoE2. Never got into PoE1 for various reasons, but PoE2 is difficult enough and progression feels like it matters way more than most other games to me. Yeah, I also feel like progression is much better. The one thing that I wish would change is the opening end game progression, so that you have access to those atlas trees earlier and you can start specializing in them. I think that's the one thing that I would change with endgame right now. Let me get my mic over here. Okay, so I can read this. Try what games are you playing? Expedition 33 and Path of Exile 2. Those are the only two games I'm playing right now. Galvanic Shards Deadeye, so fun. I have to try it, perp. I have to try it, perp. How do you know Try is old without saying he's old? I am 27 years old. I turn 28 next week. Next Thursday is my birthday. My birthday's in 1 week. I'm turning 28. One thing they could do, as it's early access, is delete endgame and make something new. I mean, they would do that in PoE1 as well, kind of. But I know what you're saying. Like, a completely different Atlas system? That's very possible, Jamie. Christopher, I was responded to at one point where their opinions are the only valid opinion, and in a way I should just GTFO. Yeah, I don't think that's silly. If I ever make you feel that way, call me out on it. Because I'm really not trying to do that. A very large problem with PoE2 at the moment is your build is either on, off, and there are very little exciting, meaningful upgrades. And on top of that, the mirror crafting scene is dead because crafting is bad. You ever do a podcast with DS Lily? The backbone thing is one of the things she mentioned wanting to tell you about. I'm going to do a podcast with DS Lily. I canceled it last time because my daughters were rough, but now my wife and I have an agreement that at 8 p.m. I am streaming, and my wife will take care of my oldest. So I should be able to start. We'll definitely do a pod together. The pod did not start yet. No. We are 25 minutes away. I have just been chatting and waxing whatever for the last 30 minutes. There was a bunch of really toxic posts at the league launch, and to be honest, the PoE one still has a bunch of it. Yeah, no, there were. I couldn't find any of them. There were just... I'm mostly talking about league launch. Now, there's nothing. Like, the people who remain right now are the memers, which I think are fine, and the people who are giving genuine good feedback. At league launch, guys, it was so vitriolic everywhere. I took a break from doing anything for 2 weeks. I'm not going to lie. Those of you who listened to the pod with Dreamcore, Surgog, and Localhole that I did a few weeks ago, I almost like quit everything cold turkey. I literally just almost said, Mobalytics, peace out, guys. Can't do your podcasts anymore. No more streams, videos. Probably not. I literally almost, it affected me that much. And then DS Lily would be proud. I grew a backbone, kind of, and just said, you know what? Fuck this. Obviously. Oh, I'm swearing already. Oh, the profanity warning. Profanity warning. Grew backbone, and I said, you know what? A lot of this stuff is redonkulous. Okay, I just need to start filtering it out. And then, of course, I've had a few chats with some people that I really respect about myself being a butt. So I'm trying to be better. PoE2 is a banger. The people complaining they can't make builds. You paid for a beta. Well, Sirkayan, you're right. However, I do see how some people are like, oh, I'm going to miss this really big comment. 1 second. I think the reaction is more of a combination of a few things. Their initial release of PoE2 and its effect on PoE1, I think you mean. 2, people felt like their investments in GG were completely funneled to PoE2, which they didn't enjoy. Also true. 3, their acknowledgement of mistakes and then the repetition of said mistake. Also true. Some of the interviews are very frustrating. I also think a lot of people generally these days are very much against fence sitters, i.e. you're with me or against me. Yes. Nuance. You mean, because see, I'm not calling you out, Hail 74, but I'm kind of calling you out. Fence sitters. What is wrong with okay, a fence sitter, right? Aren't fence sitters like, the connotation is, oh, well, they can just swap to one side or the other, and they only do, like, they follow where the winds blow? I feel like that's different from having a nuanced position, but some people kind of conflate the two, where if you have a nuanced position, Like, I think I do. I genuinely do. A lot of people think I, for grinding your games, but I don't. I do criticize the game a lot. I just feel like that's conflated a little bit. And then Circaean, going back to yours before I missed that big comment. Yeah, people did buy into a beta, but the game looked so good, and let's be real, it played so good, especially in the campaign, that people thought, oh my god, this is a freaking AAA quality full release game. And I still feel like it's kind of like that, despite a lot of the systems being absolutely broken and needing to be fixed. Like balance. Balance is broken, right? Balance of monsters, balance of characters, all that stuff needs to be worked on. Honestly, it felt like a negative comment meta. Oh, goodness. Why give ground to these shallows? It is literally in early access. No, I totally agree, man. I understand what you're saying. It's just with, like, the mystery boxes and all that stuff. Like, it's and the fact that they won't do the constant changes, people feel like, I'm still waiting on Druid. We don't talk about Druid in these streams. I am never going to ever say that Druid is coming until it's on my screen and it says Druid released in X. Been on every day since update. 0 divine drops. Oh no, Richard. Sorry for your bad luck. God forbid people are critical with constructive feedback on their experience versus some of the overtuned stuff, which is obvious. No, Chris, criticism is different from people cussing out the devs and stuff. Totally. Be hard hitting. Go for it. Don't be hateful toward people. I think Josh Hayes said this first. Attack systems. Don't attack people. Attack ideas. Don't attack people. That guy's really smart. I really like Josh. Happy early birthday. Thank you. Oh, your birthday is one day before mine, Sir Kane. Well, happy early birthday. Games are too close now. Need to lean into the action side of PoE2 and go all out. I do think they should be more distinct. Pow, pow, pow. Pow, pow, power. Oh, I will hug my kids on my birthday. We're actually traveling over the weekend. It's going to be fun. All right, I'm reading through. Were you unhappy with the game as well, or mostly just the community reaction? The community reaction. I was fine with the game, but you know how when people talk so strongly and dislike something so strongly that it like affects your enjoyment of it? That was kind of me with the game. Like, obviously I saw the problems and I was an SSF and it was horrible. And once I swapped to trade, bam, started getting upgrades like mad. But I was like, you guys saw me on day one. I wasn't trying to gaslight anyone. I did not feel like the campaign was like that much harder than, or even harder than 010. But I guess I have a shit memory. I was playing Huntress. I was doing like Explosive Spear, Ice Fangs. And then day 2, I got to Jamanra. And I was like 4 levels under. And I did an 18-minute Jamanra. And then I was like, I feel like something is wrong here. Cursive try. You're talkative try, not negative try, so don't change this and you're good. No, I'm not. Guys, I tell you guys, and people say that I'm done for saying this. If I don't like it, probably gonna say I don't like it and then peace out. That's it. Crazy how amazing the game is now that there's loot. I made it through Act 3, 4, 5 and half of 6 a day in 5 hours. Fastest I've ever blasted in hardcore. Heck yeah. Lots of people are having fun, Jin John. Yeah. Nuance is an endangered species. Good thing about sitting on the fence is you can see both yards. Nico Jones. Very nice. Very nice. Fence sitter are just okay. Please do mix neutral with fence. Please do or don't. Some of the PoE2 glazers seem to have double standards when it pertains to constructive feedback. Void Chain, could you what's the word that I'm looking for? expand on that. Could you expand on that? As being a PoE2 glazer. Could you I'm not even trying to it's not a gotcha. Can you expand on that, man? I'm curious what you mean. Like double standard when it pertains to constructive feedback. Yeah, expand on it. Go for it. If you think PoE2 launch is bad, look at the history of Escape from Tarkov. What was a bad game launch that I was a part of? I don't think I was a part of any bad game launches. I think the worst launch I was a part of was, I think it was Ultimatum with the streamer queues and Path of Exile 1. That was some drama stuff. I thought fence sitters means just watching, eating popcorn, and not be on both sides. I don't think so. Maybe I'm totally wrong, but I thought fence sitter was like, oh, you know, I can go on this side of the fence if I think, you know, the winds are blowing here, or this side of the fence, you know. I thought it had a negative connotation. Maybe it doesn't. Hey, Zal, what's happening, dude? Oh my gosh, chat's moving so fast. What's going on? Try acknowledging their points and letting them fully explain in fully incorrect context and such may reduce the amount of negative reactions. Whose points? If you're talking about chat, I'm trying. And all my guests, I try to let them explain themselves. Like, I've had a lot of people who don't enjoy the game on. I try to let them really explain their points. Okay, double standards. To this day, there are people who are still in love with Diablo 4 and never abandoned it through thick and thin. Are they wrong if they say the game was good the whole time? No, it's subjective. No, Void Chan, I think it's subjective. I think pretty much everything to do with games, besides the technical aspects, like bugs, is subjective. I hate all first-person shooters. I hate them. I think they're trash. I think the gameplay is trash. I don't like the flashing in my face. I don't like the fast-paced gameplay. I think it's too spazzy. I think that... No, I won't say that one. I don't like FPS games. Are they objectively bad games? No. Are there lots of people who love them? Who play them for 20 hours a day? Yes. I didn't like Halo. I didn't like Halo 2. I played Halo 2 for like an hour, but I didn't like it. Didn't like any Call of Duty game. Never liked Fortnite. What other games did I not like? Didn't like League of Legends. You know, I don't like any of these games. Are they all bad games? No. It's subjective. Right? Just because I say that doesn't discount the experiences of the millions and millions of people who enjoy them. Like, so I feel like sometimes you can say something and then people extrapolate all of your opinions based on the one thing you say, and you don't mean for your words to be taken in that manner. Like, if I say I hate playing League of Legends, it doesn't mean you should hate playing League of Legends. If I say League of Legends is bad, doesn't mean everybody should think League of Legends is bad. My biggest problem is that on the technical side, I still can't get the game to launch. Drag, no way, dude. What? Yeah, well, that's bad. The crash is objectively bad. The server issues, objectively bad. You said people not please do? Oh boy. So try, when will you try a witch minion based build? Oh, bro, don't. Chris Wood, no. Don't. Please, I don't want to do a minion build. Guys, come on. You don't want me to do a minion build. Trust me, man. Trust me. Okay, I'm scrolling through chat. Try, have you noticed that new player streamers like PoE2 way better than people coming from PoE1? Yes, I do. But that people don't like to hear that. All of my friends who didn't play PoE1 love PoE2. But that doesn't mean, like, they have, like, fresher perspectives. And that's not dissing PoE1 players. They just have new perspectives. Right? And that's kind of what I talk about. that's one of the points and in the bad point I made in the Calterac chat of PoE 1 players wanting PoE 2 to be more like PoE 1. A lot of just brand new players, they're just completely embracing it for whatever the hell the devs do. Sure, they have their qualms and the like, but they're just embracing it. They're not saying, well, the campaign should be, you know, for speedrunners 4 hours because I can do the campaign in 4 hours in PoE 1, right? They're just saying, oh, this area feels too long. Maybe it should, like, that should be cut in half, or maybe the levers, GGG, the levers should just be eliminated. Stuff like that, right? Campaign is fine. It's just how things that John said in the interview that surprises me and makes me think he is out of touch. Example, we can't make the monsters slower than players or people will avoid combat, or game needs to be punishing right from the start. Those things apply to different games, not an ARPG. I agree and disagree kind of with what you're saying, Big Fat Lab. Last Epoch is a really good example. You can run past everything in Last Epoch. Some people love that. I don't necessarily love that. I kind of like how PoE 2's campaign is designed more than like Last Epoch. Even PoE 1's campaign, it's hard to run past everything. Think about it. It really is. Like, you can, especially if you're optimized, right? But if you're playing it for the first, second, third, fourth, fifth time, are you going to be able to do that? Or does it take a little bit of mastery, right? I also think that the wolves attacking you and you getting your ass kicked in the second area of the game. Here you go, base take. I think that's good. It shows you what type of game they're trying to design early. It does. It is a more punishing game. It's a little bit more deadly, right? The wolves, they killed me, right? They killed me. Guess what, guys? Just by the way, they used to be way crazier. They used to be ridiculous. When I went to LA 1 year ago, okay, I didn't rant to Jonathan, but I told Jonathan, like, in person, right? Me, the person who would never talk badly to GGG about PoE 2, by the way. You believe it. Not a bad word. If you say a bad word, I ban you, okay? Right? I told Jonathan, the warrior's terrible. The mace feels... I can't even move. I rolling slam, guys. You used to rolling slam. It was slower in March. And the monsters were stronger. So I would die in the duration of a rolling slam. Unless you got on the edge of the screen and you got the attention of the mobs. And as they ran toward you, you start your rolling slam while they're on the opposite side of the screen. And then as they're coming at you, the second and third slam would hit the mobs at this test in LA. It was, here you go, I'm gonna use a word that a lot of people use a lot, and I don't use it a lot. It was dog shit, okay? But did I say it was dog shit? No, I told Jonathan, like, yeah, the warrior, I mean, you just feel like you die to every pack, and that's not fun. I didn't make any forward progress. I got stuck for many minutes just on a few packs of mobs, and it felt bad. And then, man, I only got one rare the entire time I was playing, and it was a bow. I don't even have any rings or jewelry. I don't have boots. Like, what's with loot? That also felt really bad. Like, I told Jonathan this to his face. I said it's bad. I said PoE 2 bad, needs to improve. Okay. Man, there's so much chat going on. You guys are going crazy tonight. Void Chan, I'm still playing the game. I like it, but I'm not going to pretend that there aren't problems with the endgame. True. True, Void Chan. It sounds like we agree. Fence sitters are people who aren't committed to either side. Triceratops companion build must happen. Bro, okay, companion I will do, but a full minion, I don't know if I could do. I don't know if I could do full minion. Tried it out, PoE 1. Substantially easier. Obviously, if they prefer it. See? Come on! Mags, because PoE 2 is substantially easier and requires way less brain power, LOL. Obviously, they prefer it. See? Yeah, see? Me, monkey brain. I prefer it because it's easier. I'm an original PoE 1 beta tester and played every league up to PoE 2, and I think PoE 2 is better. PoE 1 is a bloated mess of systems right now. See, and I disagree with that. I know, man, you've chatted so many times, LV Haxor. I don't actually know how to say your name. I feel like I've never said it, so I'm going to say LV Haxor. I disagree with you on that. I freaking love that PoE1 has so many mechanics and systems in it. Other people call it bloat. I call it 10 years of awesome content being added to the game. And I started that when I started it in 2019. When I got to the end game and saw all this stuff, it was just like a beautiful sandbox opening up before me. I love that. I love that type of stuff. It was like an MMO, but it wasn't reliant on me like catching up to people who had been playing for a decade before because of the seasonal reset. So there's all these different things that you could constantly be learning about the game and mechanics to interact with and like bosses to fight. I love that about PoE1. Fun fact about me, I've never fought Owl the Crystal King. Isn't that crazy? I've never done a challenge related to him, ever. Pretty wild. Maybe one day I'll fight Owl. I hope that's how you say his name. Oh no, I don't know what people are disagreeing with. Crap. Oh, maybe I should skip to chat. Let's see if there's anybody going asking direct questions. Where's Snoob? He's coming on in 6 minutes. I know, you guys are here for Snoob. Okay, I'm caught up in chat. Oh, you're good, Snoob. Yeah, we're starting in 5 minutes. You are not late, my man. You are not late. You said it right. Lots of systems can be good, but PoE1 does not set them up in a good way. This is why it's just bloat. You are also true. I've relied very much on guides on the internet. I could not figure out the systems by myself. You're right, LV Haxor. Yep. PoE2 just shouldn't change aspects of PoE1 mechanics or systems that are good for the sake of being different. Agree. For example, the gem changes of PoE2 are great. The multiple vendors and benches are not a good change. I do agree as well. Where's the crafting bench? Owl pronounced all. All. Jinjon, that is such a good point. I think we're going to discuss it today. I honestly wonder what the reactions would have been like if PoE2 wasn't called PoE2, but named as an entirely different game. I think you got a point there, bro. I am not even shitting you. I think you got a point. What was it originally supposed to be called? Was it supposed to be called Fated Connections? What was the game supposed to be called, guys? It had a different name. PoE1 had a different name. I am Big Eyes. I'm going to do Expedition 33 videos. I'm going to do like a review from the perspective of someone who's never played a turn-based... Okay, no, I played like Baldur's Gate 1 and 2. But someone who hasn't recently played any turn-based game, I've never played a Japanese RPG, any of that stuff. So, I just got into Act 2 last night. One with nothing. Okay, but that's kind of a rough game name. That's not snappy enough. Ask Snoo if he remembers you. You can ask him yourself. He's in the chat. Will you consider interviewing casual players if there's one willing to talk? I 100%. Okay, I'll announce it here, I guess. In a few weeks' time, I think June. No, sorry, a few weeks. Late May, I only have one pod scheduled. It's with Palsteron right now. I actually wanted to do at least 2 streams where it's kind of dangerous, and I'm going to have the button ready. The button will be ready. Where I wanted to get some of the people that are constantly in the chat and talking. And I wanted to do one stream dedicated on the critiques of PoE2. And another stream fully dedicated to keep freaking doing this GGG, take it and run with it. So the good of PoE2 and the bad of PoE2, 2 separate streams, and getting people in Discord calls and kind of chatting like with like 10-minute conversations, because a lot of people have talked about wanting to do that. So what the hell, I'll do it. But if anybody does anything, it's silly. Discord call end, stream end, VOD deleted, never happening again. So I probably shouldn't say that because now, yeah, let's just not do that. Route of Beliar, what's that? I don't think naming it would have changed the response much. A lot of the negative response is due to the impact on PoE1. And people are always going to make comparisons if they're from the same company. I mean, Hell74, you have a point there. But the name, I think, does carry a lot of weight. PoE2. PoE1. Ugh. Yes, and initially PoE2 was just a separate campaign. It was all the same game. The next stream was Sirgolg and Local Hole and Dreamcore. I am not sure. I kind of wanted to do another one before 0.3 drops, so maybe next month sometime. Okay, anything else before I get into Discord? That's it. That's a good point, Artos. Could pre-record just to be safe? Well, part of the fun is doing it live. The endgame experience is starting to feel repetitive. Bro, it's gonna feel repetitive AF for a long time, my man. Especially if you're just blasting maps. There's not a lot in endgame. It's very shallow right now. I think 0.3 is gonna be in August. That's my hot take. Alright, Exiles. That was a lovely chat. It's time for Snoobay. Snoobay 85. Da 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 da. Da, 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 da. Let me screenshot this right here. So I have my cues, and we will be good to go. Everyone, why is my computer so loud? It's silly loud. All right, chat. Make sure you tell me if Snoobay's too loud, and I'll make sure to adjust his mic a little bit. Okay. Here we go. Here we go. Maybe let me open my window. 1 second. Just a little hot in here. Just a little hot in here. Okay. Snoo, where are you? He's here. Yeah, it's me that's late. It's me. He was ready. He was on time. Okay. All right, should be good. Pop out. There. Go. Perfect. Da-na-na-na. Oh, I got to do my virtual camera, man. Crap. Here. Start virtual cam. There we go. I'm going to pop out really quick. I just had to start my virtual cam for you. Oh. There we go. Better.
Oh, what? Hold on.
Oh, you're good. There's no rush.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, Snow. Can you hear me? Uh-oh.
Oh, no, we got problems again, huh?
No, it's not bad. I see the background. You got the hacker background, a throwback to the terrible thing that happened. But yeah, the camera. So it looks like you might need to start your virtual cam. It looks like your source is in use. No? Yeah, it's the hacker man background. If you guys remember the first pod.
Yeah, let me work on this.
Oh, you're totally good.
Like last time.
Oh, you're totally fine, dude. Yeah, the last pod we talked a lot about the unfortunate hacking situation that occurred to you guys. So it's a little bit of a throwback. All right. Chat, Come on, no fighting. We're chill. Come on, let's be chill, you guys. We're all chill here. We're all good. PoE2 best ARPG. Oh. You know, I saw a video from Dreadful today that came out that said Slormancer might be the best ARPG of all time. So maybe I'll give that a try. They sent me a free copy of it. That's one of the first games I've received like a free copy of that I'm super excited, super interested to try. But I'm keen on finishing Expedition 33 first. Yeah, the hacking sucked. Oh, perfect. Look at you. Hello. I see you. Uh-oh. Can you not hear me?
Oh, wow.
The game is called Slormancer.
Yeah, I don't hear you. Hold on.
Oh, you don't hear me? Oh, well, maybe one of my settings is screwed up, dude. One sec. Microphone, headset. My
I have
hello.
like massively delayed fashion.
Oh, is it delayed? Uh-oh.
Well, like I hear the stream, I just don't hear the actual straight connection we have.
Oh, that's odd. It's my the Discord, it looks like it works. Everything's set up properly. Am I like muted in Discord? Let me check.
Wait.
I'm not muted in Discord. Maybe I can. Oh, I know snooze quack, guys. We haven't even started. We're just having slight technical things.
I mean, it's weird because my sound's working for like
everything else.
Wait, can you say something again?
My name is Try.
Yeah, I'm still not hearing anything. Wow, what the heck?
I'll restart Discord on my end and see if it fixes it. I'll see. Hopefully it fixes it. Let me see. Hey, leave the call.
Let's just restart the call, maybe.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Change some settings in the middle of this.
Yep. All right, we're restarting the call. All right, video call. Hello. Hopefully it works. Hopefully it works this time. Praise.
Yeah, it must be on my end. I need to do something with the settings to allow sound through the Discord. Okay. It's probably like streamer mode enabled or something.
Oh yeah, maybe there's right. There might be something funky going on there. Let me see. I'll double check on my end. Enable all sound effects will be the same. Yeah, I don't see anything on my end. Check Discord settings input. No, my input's good, you guys. I tested it. Just so you guys know, I'm not kidding. Oh, hello. You should hear me twice. Oh, this is rough. Okay, you heard me twice.
Yeah, I think he's good. I'm pretty sure it's on my end. It's a Discord setting on my end.
Okay. Discord isn't muted on the volume mixer, right? From Volatis. Maybe Discord's muted on the volume mixer. I don't know.
No, it's up high right now.
Okay. Streamer client strikes back. We're not even logged into PoE2. Does Discord have a stream? Actually, yes, Discord does have a streamer client or streamer mode. So, right. Check Discord settings, input device, time zone. It's the time zone. Snoo needs some time. I don't even know what the difference is in Japan. I
can't remember where the settings are. Do you know where the sound settings at in here?
In Discord? Voice and video? I think that the wait, are the sound settings in voice and video? Yeah, I think the sound settings are also in voice and video. Maybe if you go to debugging and you reset voice and video settings, although I don't know if you have a whole bunch of custom stuff set up. I don't want to screw over your setup. Could be that Discord auto changed your default audio device.
Wait, say something again.
Hello. Please.
Yeah. Okay. Never mind. I thought I checked something in OBS, but like I have OBS open right now with the virtual cam open. That's what I did before, I think.
Yeah, last time it was just a little bit of a picture issue. It wasn't a sound issue. Well, somebody said something that sounded smart.
Yeah.
So I know when I open Discord, or sorry, when I have Discord open, I don't know why it constantly does this, but like my audio devices like swap. Do you want to make sure that it didn't change your default audio, like your headset? Like, cause sometimes it swaps to my monitor for some reason, literally no reason. So maybe maybe you already checked that though. That your output device is proper.
I mean, yeah, I got it coming through my headset, and,
Oh, you
and
do?
again, it's I hear you through the stream. I hear every other source of sound properly.
Oh no. Is Discord trying to screw us over? Let's see.
Yeah, it's definitely Discord. I'm not big on Discord settings and stuff, so
Oh no, neither am I.
I'm actually
Let's
kind of
see.
googling some of this stuff right now.
Let me see one sec. Maybe we could be funky. Snoo and Zoom. Is Zoom like free? Could I like set up a Zoom for free? I've never used Zoom for this before. Maybe that'll work. Because that's what we do at my work. Like sometimes like we usually use Discord. Or sorry, not Discord. Sorry, we use Slack. Sorry, no, we use Zoom. But sometimes like somebody will just Slack call me and the huddle won't work. So like we'll try to do the tech stuff and then we'll swap to Zoom and then maybe Zoom won't work for the dude and then we'll go to Google Meets. It's like a whole thing. Do it on Teams. There is no way in hell I would rather cancel the podcast than use Microsoft Teams. You're not convincing me. Microsoft Teams is the worst. Okay? Hate that. Restart your computer. Turn it on and off. That's what somebody said. Maybe.
I'm actually reading through some
Okay.
some suggestions here on Google here.
Okay.
We'll get this figured out.
Yeah, no problem, dude. You're gonna check the call settings specifically. Also, there's 2 sound settings in Discord. Yeah, I'm sure you don't have me muted. That couldn't be it. That's probably not it.
It is the voice and video settings.
It is. Okay. Google Meets is probably fastest. Yeah, that's probably true. Google Meets, because I probably can just do it with a. Let's see. New meeting? Can I literally just do a new meeting? Okay.
We're showing the correct output device.
Do you want to try Google Meets, Snoo? It's free, and I can send you a link. The only thing is, if you are signed into like a personal Gmail, I don't want to like dox you on stream.
Let me first try to restart Discord, because it might be that I changed the sound system settings and then didn't restart Discord. I don't know. Let's just try that.
Yeah, go for it. Not a problem, dude. Don't worry about it. All right. Yep. And I have here. I have Google Meets ready to go, guys. Maybe that'll fix it. All right. He's restarting Discord right now. That's fired. Right click on Talkative, try in Discord and see if he's muted. Yeah, I don't think I'm muted. Hey, I've got a Google Meet open. He's missing the incoming audio affix. Simple mistake, really. This is GGG's fault. They didn't allow him to juice Discord hard enough to hear audio. I would say that right click and he could just turn up your volume specifically. It sounds like he can't even hear me, guys. By the way, D4BN3Y666, thanks for the Prime for 2 months, my man. What's going on? Sup? Everyone remember this when he starts talking bad about PoE2. What are you talking about? Hello?
All right, I got it.
Hell yeah, it's just a freaking restart. Jeez, easy as that. Maybe.
It wasn't that, it was something dumber.
Oh, what was it? What was it?
I just had the wrong, I had everything set up right on the desktop. I had the wrong, what do you call it? Inbound setting for sound.
Yeah. No, dude, that
I can't read apparently. You know, there's like 10 different ones to choose on the list, and like 5 of them look the same, and then it's like, okay.
100%. I actually, when I rebuilt my computer recently, I didn't even know you can go and you can rename all your audio devices, because I have input or outputs for each of my monitors. They have like speakers in them, and it would always like, and they're all called speakers. So I'd always have to like bounce between everything for my real speaker versus my monitor speakers. So now my monitor or my real speakers are just speakers, all caps, with a whole bunch of S's at the end, and I never get confused now. It's very nice. So, okay, I'm glad we got the text.
That's probably a good idea, you know.
It works.
I mean, I feel like as a content creator, I'm obliged to be good at this audio engineering, and you know, we basically need like 10 different degrees to do what we do. We're videographers, we're cinematographers, we're producers, we're writers, we're script writers, we're
okay,
actors, and fucking everything, dude.
Well, I learned. I was reading maybe it was your Twitch today. I didn't know. Just before we get into the PoE2 stuff, you're a part-time English teacher in Japan, or professor?
Yeah. Just
really?
part-time, easy going stuff. Yeah.
Is it like for high school, like kids, or is it like a professor, like for college age students? Or curious if you want to share.
Well, no, it was for kids before. It was like they call it eikaiwa work. It's real simple stuff. You don't need to be like a professional English or whatever to do it.
Is it mostly teaching like people who speak like Japanese how to speak like English
language?
Second language?
It's called ESL, yeah, second language.
Very cool.
It's something a lot of people do like right out of college. Yeah. So
that's cool.
Yeah. By the way, does the sound?
No, people are saying it sounds like your mic is worse than usual. These sound like regular viewers of yours, and they think it's your webcam mic.
That'd be crazy. Hold on.
Go for it.
Okay. Definitely the correct mic on desktop. Let me see. The never ending.
No, not a problem.
At least it sounds good on my end, but yeah, I definitely would prefer.
I think you sound good.
No, they're right. They're
right.
Massive W in the chat to save this stream there.
All right. Thank you, chat. You guys rock. Oh my God, that is such a freaking change. Dude, I think our last podcast was using your webcam.
Wow.
Mic.
This is the biggest W I've ever seen in chat.
Holy crap, the last pod used the webcam mic, Snoo. Oh my God.
No, it didn't. I don't think it did, because I would have noticed on the repeat back.
Really?
I don't think it did.
Man, it sounds so different.
Maybe it did.
I might be wrong.
Now I'm gonna have to go check. Wow.
We have to go look, dude.
No wonder that podcast didn't pop off, man. It got me sounding like
it had 26,000 views. I got to show you the retention on that. People love that podcast. It's really good.
I genuinely think people are going to enjoy this one a little more than usual, because the last one was sort of, for better or worse, plagued by the whole hacking thing.
It was unfortunate.
And so, I mean, people wanted to know a little bit more about that, but you know, that was dominating the front end of everything I was thinking, and it was really hard to like detach myself from what was going on. The timing was pretty rough.
Oh, which it makes total sense. That would have frustrated me too. I probably would have rage quit Snoo, honestly. I wouldn't have been able to work back up. Yeah. It would have been like, all right, fine, 0-2-0. I'll just come back in 0-2-0. I can't do anything else. Instead, at the end of the league, I blew all my currency on Arbiter of Ash 6-man attempts, and we couldn't get him past phase 1.
What about now? Are you still farming for real? Are you still in the grind?
Man, so that's the thing. I'm not grinding too hard. I'm like 40 hours. Only 40 hours, which I said only a few streams ago, and a lot of people were like, what do you mean only? That's a lot. And I'm like, well, for Path of Exile, man, I'm doing like 60 first 2 weeks in PoE1 League. So 40 in a month is pretty low, honestly, for me. Maybe it's because I've got 2 daughters now. That's probably what it is.
Yeah, maybe some of my own. I was self-reflecting the other day about, like, I'm enjoying the grind. A lot of people aren't, and so it kind of escapes me sometimes that I basically I just had essentially in the last 48 hours, I only played the game for like 3 hours in the last 48 hours, which is probably most people when they think about me, they're like, no, this guy must be like going crazy grinding. And it wasn't that I was doing nothing. I was just like, some days I'm like hyper focused on video making and stuff like that and like writing stuff. I did the build guide. That's like an entire day for me almost. I'm not the most efficient content creator. I take my time to like write down what I want to say and I change the video while in the editing process like a million times and finally put it out there. And then, I realize the entire day is gone and it really helps, because the next day I log on to the game, I'm fresh, I'm really like, oh, wow, part of my mind is like, well, you haven't even played for like past 24 hours or so. And yeah, it sometimes escapes me, I think, how it's easier to stay plugged into the grind when you're not actually doing it 10 hours a day.
Oh yeah.
And some people might think you are.
Yeah, you get like
sure.
not even bored, but like a little jaded if you're constantly doing that. But like if you take like a few days break, hop back in, man, it feels really good, especially if the first time you play after a 3-day break is after a bunch of loot changes and then stuff is flying everywhere, That happened with me.
Yeah, people got after me a little bit on that because I had just been making content about the state of the community and everything, and then I don't know. Is the podcast in full swing now, or are we still
okay.
in the
I'll do a
intro mode?
stupid YouTube intro, and then we'll hop right into it, dude. Yeah, I'll do. I got to do these silly things now. Okay.
What is this?
Right. 3, 2, 1. Hello, my fellow exiles. I don't know why I'm doing a different intro every single time. Welcome to another episode of Still Saying. Tonight, I am sitting down with Snoobe85. We are going to talk about all things Path of Exile 2 Early Access, and specifically Dawn of the Hunt. We have a slew of topics to address, and we are already 20 minutes in due to some fun tech issues. Chat, big W, you saved us on both the audio and both audio settings, actually, microphone input and output. So thank you, chat. Snowman, we are about a month in. You have been playing Dawn of the Hunt essentially since its inception, all the way a month ago. You've been pretty consistent. I think you stuck with it through like Freesia. Did you hop to Freesia and last Epoch, or have you just been playing PoE2? And during that time, have you been enjoying it?
Yeah, I've not been playing PoE2 since like 0.1 straight through.
Okay.
By the way, well, yeah, thanks for having me. It's
course.
great to be back and really enjoy your podcast. So, yeah, happy to be here. I did play Freesia, and I didn't realize we'd talk a little bit about that. But yeah, I was really enthusiastic to get back into it because of the new ascendancies. One of them really spoke to me for a build that I wanted to make a long time ago, but never did, just because it didn't quite line up with what I wanted out of an ascendancy. There were a lot of issues. So, but then we had the Blind Prophet, and that was a totally different ascendancy than anything we'd seen before. That just fit the mold exactly with what I wanted, and so I was extremely excited to play that build. I played Freesia for the build, which is not necessarily the reason a lot of people played it, but if it wasn't for that, I'm not really sure what I would have done. We're kind of coming back to another similar situation where maybe, just maybe, 3.16 or 3.26 will be coming around the corner. And I'm not exactly sure if and what I'm going to do with that. But for now, definitely enjoying Dawn of the Hunt. And you're right, I have been playing it pretty much straight through since it released.
And so, obviously, the launch of it was, no matter what, it was polarizing, right? Lots of people, there were lots of complaints. Some people were just loving it. Lots of people were hating it. There were lots of people in the middle that were just like, okay, this is obviously crap. This part of it is good. How have you enjoyed it? Because you've stuck on it with a spear build all the way through with the Huntress, right? One of the new skills, combo focused. How have you enjoyed that new playstyle introduction to PoE2?
Well, I mean, people got a lot of different reasons to enjoy the game. For me, I'm able to enjoy it maybe a little more than some people because I really enjoy the spear archetype. Not necessarily like what people's view of it is, like overall, but the way that GGG set this up, it is very much a sort of agility-based class that tries to take advantage of both melee and projectile. And for anyone who's ever seen me play, I usually play like a bow build, but I typically play it like a melee bow build. I really like playing it extremely aggressively. I like the whole point blank variation of ranged gameplay in PoE1, for example. And so this really spoke to me, being able to take more advantage of that type of gameplay.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm able to actually, it's not just a keystone that makes you do more damage if you're close. It's actually, interactive gameplay where you're choosing to use certain skills that feed off of each other in some pretty spectacular ways.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes for a really satisfying gameplay for me. And I know that's not everybody, but that's just like that is quite literally maybe my favorite archetype of all. Because if I look back and I think about every single type of character I've ever played, it's not like I've never played a tanky character, or I've never played a caster, or I've never played, a pure off-screening, agility class or something. But I've always really gravitated toward the more like ninja style, agility style play, where you're in and out, quick in and out combat. You just kind of move faster than the monsters and kill or be killed, and a lot of positioning focus on what you're doing. I've always liked that.
Yes, then it was definitely heaven for you. How did the early on, especially, how did the frenzy charge generation feel for you for a lot of the abilities that required it? Because I know that was one of the problems when I was playing, was the frenzy charge. It was also like parry charges, because I was trying to make Fangs of Frost work. I love that ability. It's so satisfying. But the payload requires parry charge. I wish it required I wish it was parry or frenzy, because I think I could make it work with frenzy. But with parry, it's like, eh. But how did that feel early on? And has it, obviously your build evolves over time and you're able to automate a lot of that and make it feel good consistently. But how was it early game when you're first building up that character?
Yeah, I think the devs definitely missed the mark on the whole parry mechanic. Clearly, not all feedback is good, not all feedback is bad, but the community was pretty well in agreement that the parry mechanic did not hit the mark, and I 100% agree with that. I knew that back when there was the issue of the power charge acquisition from Killing Palm with the monk, and that nobody wanted to do that, and it wasn't even worth like trying to get a power charge, to spend it through Rolling Thunder or whatever in Act 1. You are better off just auto-attacking. And the same was true here. I took that lesson and I applied it this time around. So I never even really engaged with the headache that was to try and parry. To be honest, I did it for like maybe 3 zones in Act 1 or something. And then I was like, yeah, this is the same thing as the monk problem that we had before. We're just going to auto-attack. Now, I realized that auto-attack seemed either a little weaker this time around, or the game's maybe a little bit more challenging. So I started experimenting quickly, which I would hope most people would. And I immediately, was trialing some of the skills that you could only use in Act 1, like Whirling Slash and Twister. Those are Act 1 abilities. And I saw that there was a unique opportunity to synergize them. It was pretty self-explanatory. 3 Whirling Slash makes your Twisters powerful, yada yada. What I didn't realize is that there was a Frostbolt that you could hard cast too and make them extremely strong, and that the Elemental Twisters were bugged. And so a lot of people absolutely breezed through the campaign on Amazon. I did not pick up on that until around Cruel, Act 2 again, I think. And then from that point forward, I was already satisfied with the power level without the Elemental Twisters. And then I just breezed through the rest. But the funny thing is they patched that bug out I don't know, maybe 8 hours after I was really started taking advantage of it. And we didn't realize it was bugged. It just kind of mysteriously absolutely obliterating everything. But there's no way to really know that early, if and how it was bugged. Then they fixed it and everybody said Twisters were trash. And then I just kept playing them because I never thought they were trash to begin with. So then we found out there was another bug that wasn't there, where they weren't doing as much damage as they should have been, and they fixed that one, and then they were even less trash. And so they were bugged twice, both once in a good way, once in a bad way. And in the end, I've kept with it, man. I just kept doing it, and I can't even tell you. I've changed the build. Technically speaking, I've changed the build like 1,000 times.
That's awesome.
Testing out different things, and I've loved it. I think I think one of the big things people are missing about Dawn of the Hunt is this stage in the early access is a build creator's paradise, or testers. And for anyone who wants to somehow find some longevity, if you're bored of the game for whatever reason, just start playing random builds. Just make random stuff. Don't, get out of the, min-max mindset for a second and yeah, just try a bunch of different stuff. And that's what I did, and I'm extremely satisfied with where it's taken me.
Yeah, you took it all the way through. I think 2 days ago or 3 days ago, you put out that really good build guide about it as well. With is it accuracy stacking tech? There's like some hidden tech that you discovered, and now you got it basically down to what everybody seems to want for like an isometric ARPG, which is the single button, right? You have a few other buttons that you press, but a lot of the time, you press one and everything just is obliterated on the screen. It took a lot of build up to get there. You said, 1,000+ changes. So that's a good feeling. That's what I usually do in PoE1, is take a character, start to finish and put all my effort into it. And it always feels really, really good. And you had a lot of space to work because a lot of people just dumped Twister after the nerf. So sounds like a good time.
Yeah. Twister gear was dirt cheap. That's right. And, anything that's not lightning spear is dirt cheap, if it's specific to that. These, people are trying to get a certain spear type, but I'm using the flying spear with the implicit for the projectile speed. Nobody wants that. I can't even tell you how many absolute dirt cheap spears I bought off trade to Krangle or send to the Recombinator, just destroying them, trying to get, an upgrade or just getting an upgrade, slamming it, paying almost nothing for a free Exalt Slam. And I think the spear that I have right now, which is one of the best on the server, started off as a 70x item that was half done already. One slam away, hit the slam, and then been using a few whittling omens on it because it was that good. It was worth doing. And that's the advantage. To the spoils goes to those who are willing to test things that aren't meta. Right. For sure.
Definitely. Now, just maybe to close out just the Amazon and spear topic, do you think they GGG succeeded with this initial implementation? For example, did you use a lot of those like support gems that wanted you to, I don't know what they're called, they're escaping my name, but they wanted you to, hit in melee and then go out and you get a damage bonus, right? If you're from ranged, and all the various notables and little passive clusters that are scattered across the right-hand side of the tree. Are you engaging with those, or did you engage with those quite a bit?
Yeah, there's some on the tree that award you for that, and some where your positioning matters.
Right.
For that, these sort of conditional things. Yeah, conditionals are a bit of a tricky one. In some cases they're not very fun to deal with, but in some cases they can be. I think GG's done a pretty good job about handling the conditionals for this. Things where you feel like you're actually in control and the decisions you make moment to moment in combat really make a difference, and you can actually see it and feel it in the amount of damage output that you have or whatever. In those moments, it's good. I like Twister because there's actually a setup to it. The timing matters. If you screw up the timing, you will see, the performance in that moment will drop pretty dramatically. If you have good timing with it, it'll go up dramatically. And I mean, that in and of itself is pretty satisfying.
Definitely.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I think that this is one of the conditionals that, like you hinted at, feels good as opposed to the damage on Tuesdays stuff that we see with other support gems and other parts of the tree. But getting bonus damage depending on where your character is moving and how you're moving your character, I think that's a good one, especially if it's as simple as get in super close, do a little bit of damage a meter away, and then get away and chuck a spear. I like that fantasy. It's cool.
Yeah.
And once there's 12 different, or however many weapons there are going to be in the game, right? Having that be one of the defined ones, that's great. There will be other opportunities to explore, like, okay, you constantly want to be freaking eons or, many feet away or always in melee and circling around, right? It's going to be opportunity for that. So, well, cool. Now, another thing that Grinding Your Games maybe changed at the beginning of the patch. I'm still confused as to what happened, and maybe you have some speculation on it, but they for sure altered it about 3 weeks in. That's the loot, Snoo. Now, I know you put out a decent chunk of farming strategy videos and comparisons, math-based comparisons. You do the math, which I mad respect.
Yeah.
So how does loot feel? I'm curious, maybe just now versus 010, or I guess I think you have the math on it, like now versus 2 weeks ago. Like, was there a substantial increase? What do you think happened at the start of this patch that destroyed the loot? Because I don't know if it's like if it was an adverse reaction to the rarity changes or whatever. That's all speculation. I don't think GGG ever really said what happened to loot, because something obviously happened and it left a lot of people confused.
Yeah, a lot of people. Well, there's several people who kind of know, kind of know what happened to loot. I think, like, I heard Empyrean Gaming didn't even play because of he foresaw what was happening to loot. Major keystone change, the loss of 2 additional modifiers to rare monsters is probably the single biggest nerf to loot, because monsters have rarity and quantity based on how many modifiers they have, and it's one of the most potent ways to get a lot of loot to drop. This is why rare monsters, especially in 0.1, rare monsters seem to be the biggest driving force to loot in general. And then there are ways to like roll it on the map as well, or on the waystone, which you can still do, by the way. But the super easy, convenient, here, just take a keystone for 1 Atlas passive point, get 2 additional modifiers on all rare monsters. I mean, that's kind of outrageous in terms of the investment required to get more loot. It made it harder. So I guess the devs thought balance wise, well, if we're adding 2 modifiers to rare monsters, they're going to be that much harder. So maybe it makes sense, but it doesn't really make sense. Once you start trivializing the game, you just be a fool not to take that. The moment you can start trivializing the content, it's a no-brainer. And then there are several other things that are escaping me off the top of my head for where loot went, but for sure when the patch came out, there was a precipitous increase. And I was only testing it through the lens of somebody already magic finding, doing the types of mechanics that people were doing before, like Breach, Delirium, with rarity on gear. I had like 100% rarity on gear before and after. I did 100 maps before, 100 maps after. Essentially, TLDR, I dropped about 33% of the loot that I dropped in 0.1 with a sort of equivalent farm. That was first round. Second round after the patch, I dropped about 66% loot. So I went from like, a third of the loot to 2/3 of the loot. But I do believe that the patch awarded a much bigger increase for people who were farming on the lower end.
Yeah.
With, like no rarity on gear.
What's up?
And doing other mechanics. So one thing that came out of this is that like Breach is not the be all end all way to, target farm currency.
Right.
Which is kind of nice. It's still probably the best if you, in a perfect world where you fully clear an entire breach. I don't think there's going to be anything better than that. That's probably as it should be, right? Because it's extraordinarily hard to fully clear a breach in this setting. So that seems fair to me. And I haven't unlocked the formula on, rarity on gear and stuff. But to me, Delirium also had a major buff. The Delirious, the depth of the mirror or the intensity of Delirium on the Waystone. I had one map where at 125% deliriousness, and I seemed to drop everything under the sun in that map. And it was actually a highlight video on YouTube. I was like, I was definitely like borderline freaking out. Like, what is going on?
Was it the We Found the Loot video? I think that's what it was. Yeah, it was the We Found the Loot. Yeah.
Yeah, and then actually a little more depth on this topic. I think you didn't really ask me this. Like, are you happy about the loot changes? A lot of people are like really happy about the loot changes, but to me, I'm fairly indifferent.
Okay.
Because I'm just kind of going along for the ride with whatever the vision for loot is, and this is kind of something that I've been railing against the community a bit more recently. Is that I feel like the developers have a certain expectation for how much loot players ought to be getting, and that players than what the players have. And players are looking at it through the lens of, the previous game, more so than trying to imagine a world where, as the meme goes, maybe it's a little more ruthless in terms of how much loot you're supposed to get. Maybe your gear upgrades are supposed to be derived differently. I really like the tiered rare system, and to me, that's a big driver for the changes in loot. Another major pain point for a lot of players is crafting. They don't even call it crafting, they call it gambling. And again, that's something that I feel maybe the developers have a totally different idea about how players should be getting loot upgrades. To all the people out there who lament that there's no alteration orbs or scouring orbs, I would remind them, or I would I would just like to inform them that if the game were to have alteration and scouring orbs in them like they do in PoE1, loot you find on the ground wouldn't matter anymore at all, especially rares. Past like the first few hours of the content, it would be a very different game. It'd be like the old game. But for now, I found a chest that ended up. People kept asking me if I ever sold that body armor I found. I found a body armor that I slammed once and then sold it for 90 divines.
What?
90 divines, yeah. And you can't do that in a world where you can just craft everything. That's not going to happen.
That's true. I think.
Yeah, technically I did craft on it, one slam,
right.
but and people will meme about that, but to me that is more in alignment with what the developers probably want us to see. You drop an item, it's half finished, 1 or 2 slams away. If it's extraordinary, maybe you use these super rare omens, in which case it was, and it makes for a really exciting moment.
I totally agree on the tiered rare stuff. I think that was the big improvement for myself in terms of finding items that were actually valuable off the ground with the patch. I've been seeing way more of those, especially tier 4 and 5 when I'm playing, and I've played probably 15 hours since the patch, and it's gone great. I really like that. I want to, not push back, but debate a little bit on being indifferent on the changes. So this is a
I'll
conversation.
Pretend you're one of my people in the comment section.
Yeah, do it. Okay, so here we go. Let me try to, I'm writing out a comment. Here we go. Okay, how would I write out a comment? So in 010, I had enough exalted orbs to 6-mod all of my maps and slam all the cool rares that I found that were, like you said, half complete. Before the patch in 020, I had already progressed to tier 15 maps. I was not dying, and I was, killing all rares, opening all chests. I had 8 exalted orbs in my stash, and I was not able to juice my rare items that I found that were half-baked, and I was 4 to 5 modding my rare maps, my waystones. And I didn't have alchemy orbs, so I couldn't, just boost it to 4 mods and then exalt after. Exalts turned into this uber scarce currency, and I had already gotten to, I think, a part of the game that maybe, I don't know, should we be generous, 10% of the player base is going to get T15 waystones, right? And I'm able to do them with 6 mods. And I was not drowning in exalts. I didn't have enough to actually use, which felt really bad to me. And I was thinking, okay, well, maybe this, like you said, is the vision. They want me to make this choice, or they don't always want me to be running 6-mod rare maps. But the maps I'm running right now, I mean, I was playing a jank lightning spear build, and I was just destroying everything, right? Okay, I wasn't following any build guides, Snoo, so it was bad. I looked at somebody's build guide for it.
It's fun.
It was really fun. Man, I don't know how to do freaking passive tree. I'm going all everywhere. It's I'm missing out on so much damage. Anyway, I was destroying it, and I'm wondering man, my build already feels so strong, but I can't juice my map. What's going on? What do they want? And then 020 hits with the loot patch, and we're back kind of to 010, where I can start juicing my maps. I'm slamming the rares that I found that are half complete. That feels better to me personally, and I'm not drowning in exalted orbs. What are your thoughts on that?
Hey man, getting more loot always feels better.
Yeah.
I talked about this analogy before.
Yeah.
If you're a toddler and getting more ice cream always feels better. Okay. But you can't keep getting ice cream every single time. Let's imagine a world where the developers came out with a patch every week and they increased loot by 30% indefinitely. What do you think would happen to this game?
No, it would be bad. I totally agree.
Really? How do you know that? I mean, I think there's people in the comment section who disagree with you, Talkative Try. There are people who disagree with that.
I think there's a
push back real hard.
I think there's a sweet spot, and I feel like it's going to take a long time to get to that spot. I think you said this in one of your response videos, where it's you don't want them to be in a state where every league they'll be buffing loot iteratively, right?
I don't think we are in for
idea.
A good, healthy longevity game
100%.
if they do that frequently.
Yeah,
yes.
I totally agree. That's why I think now, and this sucks because of the way early access is kind of treated. Now is the time for big swings, I feel like they should really test, like you're saying, the vision they want for loot. If, let's say they go back to what 020 started as next patch and some slightly different iteration, but essentially the amount of loot dropping is the same there because they're testing something new. it's going to be that same firestorm, and so they can't really test it, right? Like, it's such a tricky position to be in, to take those
I'm
big
sympathetic
swings,
to that argument.
Yeah.
Actually, no, I really am. I really do kind of like that line of thinking. Like, what is this really? Is this a finished game? Is it a beta? Is it an alpha? If you're looking at this through the lens of like an alpha or beta, why not just give everybody 1 billion divines and we can all test stuff, right? And then we can give them feedback. If it's meant to be a finished game, I mean, I guess you're charging $30 for a free game.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it kind of makes people think it's a finished game.
Mystery boxes too,
especially when you don't normally do that. And that is another criticism I kind of had for the, where, you know, you can't blame people for interpreting this as a kind of a finished game when you normally have a free game and then suddenly charge $30 for it. It's very hard to like do the mental gymnastics to say, no, it's not actually a finished game. I'm buying this thing that's normally free just so I can randomly test it and give them feedback. Yeah, I think it would have not been a terrible idea to flood, you know, the loot and stuff, but it seems like GGG is definitely more concerned with, you know, micromanaging balance, micromanaging the market, and they're treating it like. And then, to me, the worst decision that was made by far is the decision where they basically overtly said, we're going to treat this like a finished game. We are not going to make seismic changes to anything between major patches. Well, there you have it. I mean, basically, it's a finished game, and the progress for the game in terms of the whole like things that really matter, the testing and stuff, is going to be much, much slower because they're not able to make sweeping changes. So we're all going to have the product we would like to see delayed greatly, including people who would like to see more resources devoted to PoE1. That is also going to be delayed.
That's a great point.
On account of them having to, you know, constantly micromanage a pseudo-finished game with a half-baked end game, and in an environment where people don't feel like they're getting enough to even test things fully. Yeah, I mean, I got plenty of criticisms for, you know, GGG and their stance. So to anyone who
shill,
come on. Some people think I'm a shill, but they apparently haven't seen the hacked video, and they haven't really listened to several other videos of mine. No, I take pretty principled stances on these things, I think, and I can see it from many sides. But going back to the loot situation, in GGG's defense, I do think the game was meant to be much more ruthless than in PoE1. Remember, the developers had stated initially they wanted to merge the game into a new one with only, you know, new campaign and stuff, but they realized, and Chris Wilson directly talked about this a long time ago, they made the decision to separate the games because PoE1 had become a runaway excess express train, and they lost control of the game. They were trying to rein it in. Expedition League and the feedback that came from that was the first chink in that armor. And from then on, from henceforth there on, they were always at tug of war with the community, and they even stopped being interactive with the community as a result of, you know, those times. And that's certainly something I blame the community on. The fact that developers wanted to tone the game back down, make it a bit more manageable. They had certain expectations for how much loot a player should probably have, the progression curve, and they wanted to get back in control of that. The players weren't having any of it, and, you know, they fought back tooth and nail, and developers said, fine, we'll just make a new game. And we will start it from scratch. We're going to wipe the power creep away. We're going to wipe the loot creep away, and we'll see how you like that. And some people don't like it, but I, for one, do. And I'm really looking forward to, you know, this game and the longevity it could have, you know, with the developers having a much more, you know, better handle on, you know, that creep situation. Because even as somebody who enjoys blasting and juicing and stuff, I see what PoE1 has become. And the developers shoehorned tier 17s into PoE1 to give us some sense of a challenge beyond that. But just imagine a world where like tier 17s didn't even exist. I mean, what a joke, you know, the game would be at the high end. And I'm honestly a little tired of it. I would like a game that challenges me, that makes me be more interactive in combat, that slows me down a bit so I can handle it more mentally. Actually, there is something I really wanted to say on this podcast that I think could help bridge the divide a little bit on this.
Yeah, go for it. Go for it.
For the community. Yeah, this is probably something I want to make a video on later. We had a pretty cool moment on stream the other day where, I was talking to a lot of people in my chat, and there were a lot of them were playing like Lightning Spear, meta builds, and, lamenting how, well, GGG says they want to make, interactive builds or whatever, but of course, the most powerful build is like a one button build. First of all, I don't even agree with that. And I think that is the community's lack of testing on stuff. I feel like, what I'm doing is certainly competitive in that sense, but it requires a little more work, right? And I was trying to figure out, why am I having fun playing the game and other people aren't? And I remember the time, like, for example, back in Diablo 3, I played this whirlwind sprint barb, and I went back and I watched some footage of that. That build is so much slower than anything I play nowadays. And then I remember actually playing that build. I saw somebody one time, they were running around and they were creating these tornadoes. They're like, wow, that looks cool, but it also looks so boring. All you're doing is holding left click and running around and you just kill the monsters. Why don't we add whirlwind in there? And then we have a rune to make whirlwind go faster. Why don't we have frenzy in there so I have something doing, in between to increase my damage just a little bit? And suddenly that build that looked incredibly boring on paper was way more interactive. It was slow enough that I could handle it mentally, and I could hit that flow state real nice. And I think that's what a lot of people, I think that's what happened to a lot of people in Dawn of the Hunt. They played a build that was, forgive me, just boring. Like, that Lightning Spear is flashy, cool, but in terms of how much you're actually doing in the map, how many buttons you're actually clicking, and the speed at which you're moving, I wouldn't want to play that build, not for more than a few hours. And so I would get bored with it too. And then I might lash out in various different ways about, on that. So if you find yourself in a place where you can't even hit that flow state because the game feels too boring, you're moving too slow, not even using enough buttons to, like, for it to keep your attention, or if you find yourself in a place where the game's too fast and you're trying to do way too much and it becomes mentally exhausting, try to find that middle ground where you can play for hours on end and the time just flies by and you're thinking about different things, and because that's a sweet spot. And it's pretty easy to do that in PoE1 by going extremely fast and playing a one-button build. But it's also easy to do that in PoE2 by going a lot slower and playing a 4-button build. And that would be my message to, the people, the community on both sides. That really helps me understand a little more, I think, what's happening with a lot of players, and they're just getting bored. It's not all based on, the gameplay or whatever, but that certainly is a large swath of the community who is kind of bored of Dawn of the Hunt at this point, because they're just not, that the build they're running, they've already written off every single other build. And it's a real shame because A, this is a time to be testing all kinds of stuff for fun and to give feedback to GGG build related things. B, it's almost like you're shooting yourself in the foot by playing a game that's slower and then making, a variation of a build that just doesn't even hold your attention.
So I think that is a great point, and it's such an interesting topic. So PoE2, it's obvious the developers want to try something new with this game, but they have, I feel like, almost a form of audience capture, right? With a large portion of the active, like, player base, and that's YouTube, Twitch, Reddit, like, people who are talking about the game, right? I'm not talking about people who are just playing the game. I'm talking about the actual communities, wherein it seems like the most vocal parts of those communities just, they don't want that at all, and they would much prefer something like so Path of Exile 1 or Last Epoch. And I thought it was so interesting to see what happened to Path of Exile 2 when that great Last Epoch update came out, and a lot of the people who had the qualms that you were exactly discussing, like, they were just bored with what was going on in PoE2, they moved to Last Epoch, and they had an absolute blast of a time. Like, they just, immersed themselves into it. Some people trashed PoE2 at the same time, but a lot of people were just enjoying Last Epoch and saying, this is what I'm actually looking for. Now, what's interesting about that, like, how can grinding gear games toe this line, man? Because I agree with what you're saying. I totally agree with what you're saying. I think a lot of people don't want to do that. I don't think they want to change, their viewpoint on the game. They're playing these games for a very specific reason. A lot of people have played like Path of Exile 1 for a very long time. They like that. They like that sort of game. But Grinding Gear Games obviously also wants to like, they want those guys to play their game too, which is why there's been a little bit of wishy-washiness from the devs too. So with all that being said, like what is the way, man? It's interesting to, I don't know what's going to happen. It's so confusing.
Part of it I think would consist of less shoehorning of PoE1 mechanics into the new game, more experimenting with brand new systems that some of which are absolutely not going to hit the mark.
Are you talking about like league mechanics? Like Expedition?
I'm not just talking about league mechanics, I'm talking about core mechanics.
For
example, Last Epoch I think is a fantastic game, and I could write a dissertation on how incredible that game's crafting system is.
Yeah.
I mean, it hits literally every single mark. It's an item sync, it's a currency sync, it has elements of determinism masked by huge RNG in the whole like item, crafting power or whatever. You can even craft your own unique items. You can even make your own gear. It allows you to simultaneously create like something to the effect of perfect gear, but also gear that is very much your own.
Mm-hmm.
It is an absolute exceptional crafting system, and they struck gold with that. It's literal magic. GGG is perfectly capable of striking gold on things like that if they were to really experiment a lot harder and try different systems. And I am I'm not like disappointed. It's just I do see there's a lot of similarities again. Like why do we have Breach, Delirium, Ritual, and Expedition as the 4 core mechanics at the end game when we could have brand new things? Well, because they didn't have enough time.
Boom.
I guess.
Yes.
But whatever happened to the old message of Blizzard North, it'll be ready when it's finished. And everybody recognizes how intelligent that is, but so few developers and studios are willing to actually adhere to that. So I definitely would have liked to see a lot of more experimentation, more willingness to take huge risks and to fall flat on your feet on different core systems, and then with an opportunity to strike gold. I think maybe the developers are a little too afraid of losing the golden goose that is PoE1, the magic of that, while simultaneously trying to drag everyone into PoE2. That they're not really full-blown experimenting with it. They even called it the same game name, right? They could have taken a step further. They decided to make 2 separate games. They could have called it something else if they wanted to, but here we are.
Right. Yeah, it's such a tricky position that I feel like everybody's in, because you talk about aspects of Path of Exile 2 that you like, and it's constantly compared to its prequel, which makes sense. It's like one discussion I'd love to have with you. It's like the campaign. Okay, this is a lovely example that is good. Okay, so
I know what
you're saying. I know. So I want to hear your take on it, man. And I feel like if a lot of people watch this, it's good. Okay, I'm gonna get dunked on in the comments. I know. Okay, Path of Exile 2 campaign. It is longer than Path of Exile 1 campaign, okay? For the vast majority of players, it still is. It will be in the far-flung future when we have Acts 1 through 6. I'm going to stand by that. The zones are bigger. The bosses are more intense. It's more engaging. There's a lot of stuff going on, okay? I don't know. Let's say it takes 15 hours for the average player. Ooh, that's a long time. And then the Path of Exile 1 campaign, people have been playing it a while, but still, let's say for the average player, it takes... let's say 10 hours, okay? Let's say 10. So 5 hours faster. I see a lot of people saying, okay, the Path of Exile 2 campaign is too long. I need to get to campaign or endgame day 1. The Path of Exile 2 campaign needs to take as long as the Path of Exile 1 campaign or less. Like, this needs to happen because this is how it's happening in PoE1. And in PoE1, it is better. And I say to that, PoE2 is a different game, but then, but it's the sequel. But PoE2 is a different game. They're trying to do something different with the game. Why does it need to adhere to the vision of PoE1 when they obviously want to try something different with PoE2? Maybe you get to endgame on day 3. Maybe it takes you a few days to get through the campaign. It's more engaging. It's more of an experience, which is obviously what they're aiming for. Is that so bad? In the eyes of almost every content creator, many of the viewers, I'm sure in chat right now, comments, Reddit. Yes,
They're going
that's
crazy
bad.
right now.
I'm sure they. I'm not reading the comments yet, but I'm sure they
I
are.
am.
Oh, you are? Okay, I'll look in a sec.
Yeah.
I don't know. We were talking about this earlier, Snoo, and I'm sorry for ranting a little bit. I was talking about how a lot of the dreams for ARPG players, 2 weeks PoE 1, 2 weeks last Epoch, 2 weeks PoE 2, 2 weeks Diablo 4, 2 weeks Torchlight, infinite cycle. You know, they're able to zoom through the game, finish the game, max out character, go through. Like, this is the dream for a lot of people, and I get that dream. Does PoE 2 need to fit inside that box? Like, does it need to be like the game that you're able to just blast through, max out, and bounce to the next game? Or can it be something different? Because I feel like they were trying to go for something different here, or at least they are now. I feel like with the tremendous pushback, all that might just fade away. All right, I'll stop.
This is piggybacking off of what I just said earlier. They need to take more major risks and stuff, and I think this is actually one they did. Clearly, it was extremely time-consuming, but the developers said, we shall make a campaign that is far more engaging and fulfilling than our first game. It will actually be so good that players won't mind having to spend a lot more time in it. Who knows, they might even like it, you know, like spending time there and stuff. And you know what the truth is? I've actually enjoyed spending time in PoE 1's campaign. There are certain moments in there where, you know, I get like, it's not very fun to do the PoE 1 campaign when you're trying to like rush it as hard as possible and you're basically under geared and under, you know, you're trying to get the most efficient, most try hard build possible. You're literally like playing it like a racer. You're 3 levels below the area level and you're kiting everything backwards and whittling it down as you move forward. It's not actually that fun to play that way, and I deliberately don't do it. I deliberately run slower through the campaign so it's more satisfying, not over leveling it, but you know, dominating the content. Maybe I'll even buy a Quill Rain off trade in Act 5 or something, right? Just to utterly destroy that content. It makes it way more fun and easier to go through by doing that. I'm not going to run zones over and over again, but you know, who's to say that's a terrible thing? You know, if you're going to spend a little bit extra time enjoying the campaign, we live in a world where, especially the PoE 1 community, the only way to play the game is at the end. You're memeing if you even attempt to enjoy, you know, the early game. What are you doing? Why are you wasting time? You should be at the end game. But you got to get the head start on the economy. You know, I get all that. Obviously, coming from my perspective, I understand that. But at the end of the day, it is important to actually enjoy the game wholeheartedly. You know, you can enjoy different aspects of it at different points. I take my time a little bit more to get to the end game. It doesn't make me enjoy it any less. If anything, I enjoy it more because, as you know, the saying goes, it's all about the journey. It's not about just reaching the. And whereas the prevailing meta of all ARPGs now is let's give players don't like the early game campaign. Let's just give them a skip button.
Right.
You know, GGG has said, you know, that's a failure. They've actually talked about this.
Yep.
That's a failure on the part of the developers to make a campaign that's so boring and so redundant that players just want to hit a skip button. We have failed them.
It's
and
true.
I absolutely love that take. Now, whether they can pull that off or not, that's a tall order, especially when, you know, everyone and their dog is saying that ARPGs are nothing but their in-game. But, you know, I can imagine a world where they pull that off. You know, maybe in 4 or 5 years, people have a totally different outlook on the campaign and stuff. Is it really that hard to believe? It obviously was the case in Diablo 2 when that was the only thing that existed, you know? So it's not like we don't have any examples of an outstanding ARPG that exists completely in the campaign where people enjoy playing the campaign.
Yeah. Maybe you're right. Maybe 4 or 5 years, man, everything will be very fine-tuned, Acts 2 through 6. I feel like Act 1 is so good. The pacing, just all the areas, all the boss fights. I feel like there's maybe one encounter. Like, I think there's one area that's missing a boss. Maybe 2 areas that are missing a boss. But if they're added, you know, every area will have a boss fight in it. And it just I can, you know, smoothly. I'm not even rushing. I'm just like I think my best is like 55 minutes just going through with I got a lucky loot drop. I got a really good hammer and I just blasted through all the bosses. But still, it was like very smooth. I wasn't rushing and it felt so good. if they get, you know, all the acts in that area, because I'm not saying, I read through some of the chat, people are saying like the zones are too long. I tip my hat to, I agree. Like, that's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying the zones are, you know, perfect. I'm saying that the idea that the campaign, like Snoo said, is something that you need to rush through to get to the real game, to the enjoyable part of the game, kind of sucks. I don't want to play a game for I don't want to play a game for any amount of time if I'm not enjoying it, honestly.
I think it's one of the biggest disconnects is these interviews with Jonathan, for example, and hearing the community talk about, you know, his takes and how his takes are absolutely ruinous for the game and stuff. I feel like it's one of the biggest disconnects that people just aren't. Clearly, that is an area where people are not seeing the vision, and you know, maybe they are. Maybe they have something. Maybe there is something inherently wrong with this idea that it's okay to spend more time. It's okay to disenchant your rares instead of selling it to a vendor. You know, it's okay that you only spend, you know, currency on crafting and gear, not once or twice per zone, but, you know, once or twice per act. You know, it's okay if the progression curve is such that it is more, you know, for lack of a better word, ruthless in that sense. I think that's there. It's okay if you run the same zone more than once. If you're struggling to get upgrades, if you got a scuffed build, if you're not a good player, you know, let's call it what it is. If you're casual, that's okay, you know, to do that. And it's also okay to like push the mold and try to rush straight through and you know, just rush the campaign if you want to do that. But perhaps the game is set up so that's not really the most optimal way to play.
Right.
And I think that's what they're going for. When I imagine Jonathan sitting at his desk playing the game, I definitely don't imagine it the same way that most people would imagine him, or especially Mark, playing the game. It's, you know, that people talk about like Jonathan versus Mark. I imagine both of them are going through the campaign a little bit more seriously than a lot of players are. Both of them are doing that, and that neither of them are entering every single zone, trying to get through as fast as humanly possible, you know, plotting out the exact trajectory and the exact pathing and thinking, you know, oh my God, I'm backtracking here. This is the worst thing in the world. You know, they aren't doing that. They're just trying, you know, they're trying to imagine it through the lens of every player involved. And while that's an impossible task, you know, they have this idea about, you know, how the progression curve, how much crafting you're expected to do, how frequently loot is supposed to drop. They have admitted that they're not satisfied with how much loot is dropping in the campaign. Again, more evidence for pro loot, less crafting, I think there. I think a huge disconnect here between the community and the devs on this part, and between that and crafting especially. I think the player base has this idea, especially, and again, this is a lot of PoE1 talk, mindset coming into play. You're not going to be finding blank white bases and crafting them from scratch in this game. That's not what this game is. I don't even think in the end mirror tier crafters are going to be crafting off of white items. I think they're going to be buying items off trade that are half finished, try to fracture them on the other half, and then finish it that way. I think the game is actually going to be that restrictive on crafting. And it will, you know, it'll ramp up over time, obviously. I've theorized that the whole Fracture Orb and Recombinator things were released way ahead of schedule. I don't even think the devs wanted to release those things when they did. I think it was just that much of an outcry from the community that we need ways to craft. And the developers are like, why don't you ask us to drop more loot? And not currency, by the way, but more like actual hard loot. Because people, when they say we want more loot, they're actually talking about currency so they can craft more. So I want to be very specific when I say that.
Right.
Ask us to drop more items on the ground that make you excited for upgrades that you find. Maybe slam it once or twice on occasion. And to me, that is what this game is shaping up to be. It's not about the crafting, actually.
Well, the tiered items is a huge step in the right direction, because before you weren't seeing a ton of the tiered items. I mean, man, I can probably count, and I didn't play a lot, so I can probably count on, you know, two hands the number of times I got a good item off the ground that I could either sell for a lot, or I actually ended up using for a really long time at endgame. I'm purely talking about endgame here. I totally found gear in the campaign and the like, but I think that was the real big disconnect there. And I feel like next time, 030, as long as the tiered system remains the same and maybe sees some improvements and different ways to not guarantee, but up your chances of getting these tiered rares. Like maybe Arbiter of Ash drops one of his tree things can be like drops 2 tier 5 items or something. That's cool, right? I think that's going to hugely improve it and win a lot more people to your side. I think, like, I talk to Local Hole a lot, and he is massively pro crafting. He wants all the crafting stuff in the game. But I also talk to Sir Gog, and I think he has your exact opinion too, Snoo. I totally understand what you mean, where the moment you add these, they're not even item editors, right? They require a lot of steps to still get a good item with alt orbs and scouring orbs, but they devalue what, making up numbers again here, 70% of the player base is going to pick up off the ground and then post on trade. Like, nobody's going to buy that stuff because all the actually good items are just going to be crafted and posted on trade, right? By the 5% something. So
from everything I've seen, this is the biggest fundamental difference from PoE 1, PoE 2 is the expectation of how players are getting loot and getting gear upgrades. What percentage of a gear upgrade is derived from the drop versus from the craft? And in PoE 1, it's like 95-5. Okay, but in 95 craft, 5 drop. Only like tier 0 and boss uniques are truly great items in PoE 1 to drop on the ground. Nothing else matters in that game except currency, divination cards, and basically tier 0 uniques. That is not the game they want here, and I quite frankly agree that doesn't make for a very exciting game. When you're just lighting that much loot on fire. You should probably have players care a little bit more about the random, maybe the magic items, maybe the rare items, and that sort of thing. That's why I think you and I agree, the tiered rare system is actually a great addition. Cool. Really helps ramp up this excitement level.
Yeah.
The anticipation for having a good item when a tier 5 of a great base drops, you're excited to ID it.
Because you also see it too. Like now I actually
see it. Tier 5 stellar amulet drops, you're like, oh my god. I want to see this right now. Open up my inventory, boom.
Yeah, screw the white stellar amulets. Give me the tier 5 rare stellar amulets, man. No, but you're totally right. And I can see it now after the patch, truly. With the more mod culling that they did and the roll rate. I can actually see it when I pick up and ID these rares, which is cool. And I haven't even played that much. I'm really curious how it's gonna feel in a 0 to, I was going to say 100, but I'm never getting level 100 in PoE2. 0 to 90 character progression for me is going to feel like if I get to do another one in 0
you're doing that?
Huh? I'm curious.
Doing that?
I think I want to. I don't know about the time. It depends on if they do August and an August ship. I think I'll have enough time if it's an August 030 to do a mercenary. Because I did a monk last patch, and this patch I did a huntress. So maybe I'll do a merc. I haven't touched crossbows at all. So
okay.
Yeah, so it might be exciting. But yeah, that was good discussion. Yeah, the tiered system, man. I'm glad that they're continuing to fine tune it, and I'm glad they released that patch. I think that was probably the biggest win from the loot patch, from my perspective. So, oh my gosh, we covered a lot there. I just looked at our question list. Let me see if there was something I wanted to. We covered that, Snoo. That. Oh. Maybe this. So we touched on the campaign, it being very different than PoE 1 currently, obviously. Mm-hmm. Are there any other aspects of Path of Exile 2 that are currently distinct from PoE 1 that you'd like to see remain that way, besides the campaign?
Oh, see remain that way?
Yeah. Or if there are any changes you want to see moving more in the PoE 1 direction. I'm curious about that too.
I'm a little confused on why so many people hate the tower system. To me, it is, I mean, that in and of itself, maybe, but like, I wonder if people actually hate the tower system or if they hate the individualized atlas, whereby you have to, you cannot one-for-one copy your favorite streamer on exactly the strat they're doing. You have to actually, know a little bit about the game to figure out what you're doing, for yourself. It's a hard pill to swallow, I guess, but to me, the tower system is fine. Like and I actually really like the delve aspect of the Atlas. I think now looking back on it, I didn't realize this at the time, but I feel like the PoE 1 Atlas is one of the most boring things ever. Because you're just plugging in a map and you're not even like progressing towards any area or anything. You're just I'm going to run these 30 of these maps juiced or whatever. And I get that's what some people want, but to me that is pretty redundant gameplay, and it doesn't help at all in terms of adding to the mystery of it all. You know, the mystery of like how your experience goes. I like it's not like in some cases people's atlases were literally bricked, and that's a huge problem, of course, if that happens.
Yeah.
But aside from that insane case, no, I think it's great. I never
Okay.
really got into Delve itself, but I've always respected how cool it was that it was, you know, this thing just like randomly keep progressing for endlessly forever. To me it makes perfect sense to combine that system with the Atlas. I think that was a genius move on their part. And whether there are towers in the future or not, I don't think it matters that much. But as far as that core system, I hope it stays for
Okay.
sure.
Okay. I like towers a lot more now than in 0.10 personally. The big range and the much greater volume of mechanics you can add to maps. And that's one thing that I'm curious about your thoughts on. So I am leaning toward agreeing with you on enjoying the Infinite Atlas that has the more exploration bend to it, the Infinite Atlas. However,
Mm-hmm.
man, the one thing that when I played Freesia, I played level 80 as well. I don't know how far you played, but I played to 80. And I played a little bit of the Atlas. The one thing that was just so in my face in PoE1 that I really love is just the volume and a surety of getting cool extra mechanics in your maps and having some way of controlling that. And even in Freesia, it was the idols. But obviously, I'm referencing, you know, scarabs or just the basic Atlas passive skill tree, right? In PoE2, you don't have that. It's either it spawns on your map randomly, and you got to get lucky, or you got to get to a tower and hope that. Or I'm never gonna do the whole thing where you're like, okay, I got to do these maps to make sure that the breach tablet gets onto this specific set of maps. I don't have the patience to do that. I just do it. And maybe that's a fault on me, but I'm just wishing that maybe there was a little bit more of a way to have agency over the custom mechanics you see in Endgame. Like I think one qualm I have with Endgame is the speed at which you start to access your Atlas passive skill trees, the extra ones. I feel like being able to
that
hit,
slowed down a lot.
yeah, that's slowed down. And I don't know. I still don't have any of them unlocked. And like I said, I played like 40 hours. And is that okay? Maybe. I don't like the argument that I heard somebody make. I don't remember who it was, but it's like, oh, well, it's not worth doing any of these mechanics until you have the fully maxed out Atlas passive skill tree. I don't think like that. I just think like, I would just, you know, like to be able to get it a little bit earlier. Like I'm doing the mechanics still, I'm having fun, but being able to do them more often would be cool. And maybe those trees would be a way to do that. I don't know.
I mean, this is going to sound strange coming from me as somebody who's played like Dawn of the Hunt in like 3 weeks straight, but or 3 weeks, you know, in the end game straight. But I find I've heard and listened to a lot of criticism about the end game, how there's like you know, anything between like there is no end game, you know, versus, you know, towers suck and like, oh, but this is okay, and then why with the same mechanics? To me, this I just find myself reluctant to really criticize the end game because I mean, my last video was like, was putting the end game out there even a good idea at the end of the day when it was so half baked? I agree with people that the end game is like really half baked, especially if you are comparing it to PoE1. You know, it's not really fair. I don't think it's fair to put PoE1's end game up right next to PoE2's endgame and then like one for one compare them in your mind. Like, why would you do that? That's like 10 years of development versus, you know, 10 minutes of development because they were focusing on the campaign and then suddenly like, oh my God, we gotta get an endgame out or else people are gonna be upset. Of course it's gonna be like super half baked. I'm more along the lines of should you have even released it, or rather just taken things one step at a time.
What's your opinion? Would you have preferred the campain released in full with
I
maybe
heard a lot. The comment section on that video blew up because most people do think that it would have ultimately been a bad idea, but there were a lot of really good takes in there about this and that. It was definitely a damned if you do, damned if you don't thing.
I get that.
And I think it depends on the individual player, but all in all, it's probably good that they did release it. but that kind of hinges on the assumption that the players are themselves are not going to ruthlessly critique an endgame for having, so little development on it anyway. The developers clearly want the players to focus their ire on the early game, the campaign, where they have already spent a great deal of time and where they feel like the game is essentially finished. That's where they want the feedback to focus on. I don't think the developers are going through the mountains of feedback on the end game because they're just going to look at that and they're going to be like, oh yeah, I mean, we only had like 10 minutes to throw it in there. Of course it's that. Yeah, okay, yeah, okay, yeah, okay. And at the end of the day, the developers are trying to like play this massive catch up, neglecting other core issues to the game, maybe other problems, and then neglecting PoE1 development even more, and then trying to somehow balance balance things so that the market isn't in shambles for a league that's not really a league, but we're all kind of pretending it is a league, and for an end game that is so half cooked, but we're all trying to make it work. I just wish people would focus a little less on their ire, a little less of their ire on the end game, and a little bit more on other issues that are more core to the game.
Okay.
And again, this is just
fair.
this is that mindset that there is nothing matters except the end game. And man,
Right.
I'm telling you, if you go into PoE2 with that mindset, you are clearly you're not going to like.
You will not have fun, which I think
not going to have fun. No.
Right. Which I think also led. We were talking a little bit earlier with chat about. I was saying, on launch day and the days after, people weren't believing me that there were paragraphs of pure like just anger and vitriol about PoE2 and how bad the game was, and at Mark and Jonathan, blah blah blah. And I tried to go through. I couldn't find any of them on Reddit, but in those first few days, I swear they were there and they were highly upvoted because a lot of people snoo. You're right on point. They went in. They were like, "Get to endgame. Endgame's good. It's a little bit like PoE1, especially after playing all those crazy stat stackers and 0-1-0." And then they hit some of these crazy tuned encounters in the campaign. They're like, "What the hell is this? I can't get past Lachlan."
Yeah,
this is
I've
trash.
had some criticisms for the developers in this podcast, but by far my biggest criticism for the community and the players is stop playing PoE2 like it's PoE1. Don't go into it like it's a new league. Try to beat the market on everything. What do you even care about the market in this game in early access?
Bugs are gonna...
and again, the developers didn't do us any favors by putting the soft gloves on and saying we're never gonna nuke builds again in between patches. We're gonna take this real nice and slow. Here's your game. Here's your end game. Have fun for 3 weeks. We're not gonna change hardly anything. Or no, sorry, like 2 months. I don't think they did the same favor. I think both sides dropped the ball on this, and there's plenty of blame to go around.
Hoping for better in 0.3.0. Speaking of 0.3.0, Snoo, do you have... There's a lot of predictions for, the next PoE2 patch. New act, new class. Do you have any predictions for it that haven't already been talked about to death? Anything at all?
Well, I know you're super excited about the new class that will almost certainly come out.
I'm never going to... Just not going to talk about it. Dude, I'm so certain they're delaying it to like the end now. I feel like there's some major issues with Druid and shape shifting that is totally...
I'm hoping for acts 4 through 6.
Please.
I don't even care if they mess with the end game. To me, it's not totally that's not where the focus should be. I mean, they should focus on major systems, classes. For anyone who enjoys build creation and build stuff, that is where the emphasis should be on the development, I think. So new classes, new skills, new uniques. This patch was amazing when it came to all the new uniques, all the new support gems, the new spear archetype, the new class. I mean, to anyone who actually, dove into that, had an amazing time this time. And I am one of them who did that. And, you got other people like, what's your off meta Michael or whatever. I know I saw some of his content, and, this is an example. These are examples of actually taking the right approach towards the early access, critiquing it, giving real feedback, testing things that nobody else is testing, and bringing it to the fold. I don't play the early access the way it really ought to be played, because I kind of stick with one
build.
class and I just
Yeah.
do it that way, and that makes me happier. But if I was truly the model citizen here, I would be making like so many different builds, so many different classes. I would be testing out all the different classes. And, I do my part. I'm testing, currency earning strategies and an in-game that's half cooked. And it doesn't really matter that much right now at this stage of the game. But I'm also enjoying, I definitely dove super deep on the build creation process. So I'm quite happy that I know I did the right thing there in terms of, that helped solidify my enjoyment of all this. But yeah, I would like to see them focus more on the early game, the acts, a little less on the end game. Get those systems out, get the new classes out, get this train moving along,
Hell
and
yeah.
then towards the end, really flesh out the end game. And also, I would like to see them give PoE1 Absolutists their league. That would be nice, and it would really help the community as a whole if they would do that. Obviously, extra criticism goes to the development team who said they would do that and didn't.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
We would like to see that come out, yesterday.
Yeah.
So that would be another thing.
June is. I hope they hit the mark in June. That would be. I've been saying it basically every time I hit live. I think that'd be the best thing for Path of Exile 2 right now. I think just we have a very passionate community, very passionate.
Yeah,
and they really want their league. They fling the best memes out there. They fling the worst memes out there. They just want their league. I say they. I'm gonna play it. I'm a Path of Exile 1. I'm not gonna be like Path of Exile 2 only. I'm gonna hop in there. I played Freesia. I've been playing every league, 36, 40 challenges since Metamorph. Come on. You think you're gonna? You said at the beginning you don't know what you're gonna do.
I still don't know exactly.
You don't know?
Yeah,
Okay.
I still don't know. Exactly. Depending on the timing
Limited
of different
time.
things.
Yeah.
Depending on the timing and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
And what I'm doing. I mean, the more time that goes on without anything else on the horizon, probably for sure. But like, what if they release 3.26 and then like 1 or 2 weeks later they release 0.3? I mean, in that case, I might not.
And I agree.
It depends
with
on
you
what.
too.
On
Yeah.
the timing.
I mean, we got a masochist in the chat who's saying they should come out on the same day. To just.
I think that would be hilarious.
That would be just.
But again,
they're
trying to treat this like they're already trying to treat this game like it's a finished game.
They are.
So my prediction would be that they are going to try to straddle the releases out.
Yeah.
0.3 will be, not get in the way of 3.26, even though it really shouldn't be that way.
Yeah.
I wish they, not yet. But anyway, yeah.
All right, Snoo. Was there anything else you wanted to chat about today at all?
No. Just to reiterate, I got a lot of criticisms go all kinds of different ways, but myself enjoying the game much. I would hope that the communities can kind of come together and that all this vitriol can kind of subside. For anybody who's kind of wondering, the thought that all my points and takes coming way out of left field, especially given my background as a juicer and all that stuff, a lot of that has not so much to do with extreme strong personal feelings. It has more to do with trying to just rebalance the community to back in a better place, because the pendulum was swinging so hard in terms of the vitriolic disdain for everything PoE2, and I didn't like it. I was fed up with it, and so I'm gonna use my platform to speak up on. It's not even so much as speaking up on behalf of the other side, just trying to temper people down a little bit. Like it's too much. It's just too much. People can have whatever opinions they want, but we can't let the community be absolutely dominated by. Say what you want. I believe it's a vocal minority, even to this day. I still think, and again, we're talking about the absolute, the biggest naysayers. I think most people are a little more level-headed. Most people are, but it's just gotten kind of ridiculous. And we need, if there's going to be a hard narrative pushed on one side, you need to develop a narrative to be pushed the other way to help counterbalance that. It needs to happen.
Dude, I appreciate you. I absolutely love that, if people are starting to speak up a little bit in regards to that, because I don't know if you heard earlier I was talking about it. I almost just bounced out because it was, like you said, the pendulum just shifted so hard. And I know I'm like weak-willed for saying that, or I was weak-willed, but I was just like, man, I was getting like all these crazy things coming my way, and I was thinking, this is do I want to do this? This is so upsetting. Like, I want to be that positive force, like you're saying, that also has critiques and is trying to be level-headed. Then everybody, it's just, you're all or nothing. You're all or nothing. And I'm like, no, you don't have to be that way, you guys, please. Why?
Well, I mean, my chat was doing it too, of course, and I've harbored many of the PoE1 juicer for life, absolutists and stuff, and I understand where they're coming from, but yeah. I kind of stamped that out immediately because I just basically deviled advocated every single thing they were saying constantly, and they either just left or they got with the program, one or the other. And I did lurk in your chat too. I did see some of that, and yeah, there are a lot of people who are kind of tuned out to this. They don't even know what we're talking about right now so much. But if you were a content creator, if you were any size content creator, you had people coming in right and left saying, "Wow, dude, you're still playing this trash game. Well, last Epoch's out. What are you doing?" It's just totally uncalled for. Those kind of comments are just ridiculous. Yeah. They're just taking out their vitriol and angst on somebody else, trying to create a mob out of thin air and stuff. Absolutely ridiculous. And I'd had enough of it. And I am now seeing a pendulum starting to come back and swing the other way. So you're going to see my demeanor and stuff begin to change a little bit. I'll get a little nicer now. Now that we've established a middle ground a bit here. Because I don't want to be like this all the time.
Right.
But, yeah. Overall, quite happy with the game. I really hope to see that more development, more cool, high risk chances taken. I don't want the developers to succumb to, give us more loot now. And just every single time, just throw in more loot, and then before you know it, we're an obese toddler with ice cream coming out our ears. And yeah, I would like to see something to that effect.
Well, Snoo, this has been absolutely lovely, man. Thank you so much for hopping on. I'm glad that we figured out the tech issues too. I was a little scared there for a moment at the beginning. But we're
I knew we'd work it out.
All right, man. Yeah. Thank you so much. The chat really seemed to enjoy it. What somebody said. What did somebody say? The best pod I've ever done, bro. Look at that. The best pod we've ever done, man. This is number 51. Hats off to you.
Well, I wonder if it'll be better. I wonder if this podcast is better than 3.26.
Ooh, all right. And with that, thank you, Snoo. I'll chat with you later, man. It's been a great time. Bye. Snoo with the shade. Oh, what do you think, chat? W or L? I thought that was beautiful. Thank you, Snoo. That was awesome. Oh my God, it's 10:30 and I still have to go on a run. Crap. Oh, that was so good. That was so good. Hell yeah. Hell yeah, guys. I thought that was a very productive discussion. You guys agree? Were there any arguments in chat? Let's check chat. Wow, we got a good chunk of people on YouTube. Let's go. We've got 130 on Twitch, 415 on YouTube. Hell yeah. There we go, guys. We got some people in there. All right, let's see. Number of content creators lost my sub during the drama. Yep. Me too, bro. Me too. You're not alone. W Snoo. W. You became a fan of Snoo after this? Yeah. Here. Let me. I'm gonna be a good Twitch streamer. Let me see. Here. There is Snoobey's YouTube channel. And shout out at Snoobey. Is that what I do? Right? Not SL? Yeah, there we go. And there's his Twitch channel. You guys should go follow him on Twitch. He streams pretty consistently. And he does some pretty great videos on YouTube as well. Highlights and build guides, currency farming strategies. And he's done like a few, not like essays. Well, I guess they're essays, like video essays. Great one of those. They're good. Check them out. Awesome chat, man. Let's go, bro. Now you can log in and blast maps. But I gotta go on a freaking run, man. It's 10:30 p.m. and I have work tomorrow at 7 a.m. SA equals rant, by the way. Yep. Subbed and followed. Hell yeah, let's go. W and L glazing the game a bit too much for me. Okay. We were glazing a little bit, David, but I think there was quite a bit of critique as well. I get it though. What if GGG blows 3.26 out of the water and the reveal includes the big reason for the delay was importing the new Big BMJ, man. Why you even put that into the universe? That is not happening, man. There is a don't set yourself up for disappointment. That is not the reason for the delay. Yeah, I thought it was awesome. I'm hoping it gains traction on YouTube. That is a hot ass take, Big BMJ. I'm pretty sure it is. It is not happening. Good stream. Loving your interviews. Oh, thanks, Entropy. I appreciate it. Look at all this love. Look at this love in the chat. Come on. Come on. See, we can be productive. The next person I'm having on that I know about is Palstron. Palstron and I are going to talk. May 20th. That's 2 weeks. Enjoying the pods too. Been watching them on some long drives. Hell yeah, Vexinik? No way, Lavaxor. You really think so? I don't think so. I think 3.26 is going to be way bigger than 100k. Just Vex is fine. Okay. Like from Critical Role. Next update, PoE2 is now called PoE Immortal. Lots of people being really spicy. Finally, you're getting another PoE2 hater on the pod. Joking. He did create pretty damn good video. PoE 2 out of 10. That thumbnail went hard. Okay, that was like channeling all of the energy necessary to get people to click, and then he had a lot of really good feedback in that video. You do a great job. I didn't know about you for a long time for some reason, but I'm really glad I found you. You're a cool dude and you're honest. Keep up the good work. I appreciate it, bro. I appreciate it. 150k, you think, James? I think it'll break 200. PoE 1. But we'll see. But it's Vexinik? Okay. Is fire the worst element? Yes, because its ailment is kind of crap. It just does more damage. But Ignite scales off you just doing giant chunks of damage, so there's not really any utility. Although you can use like support jumps to turn fire into ice and everything, right? Get some freezes going. Did you ever get that div into your post 0.2? No, they decided to go with Darth Microtransaction, Gazi, Scissorin, and the drop frame guys instead of me. I'm not big enough yet. I'll get big enough eventually. Eventually I'll get big enough. That was probably my my most unfortunate gut punch, is when that I was supposed to happen, and then DM and Ghazi did the interview instead. But you know, I am small potatoes, you guys. I have one, probably reach wise, probably like 1/50th of like Darth Microtransactions reach. It would be silly to not do that. I'm shocked that they've ever given me the chance. They've given me the chance 4 times too, which is just very cool. Now that I'm let's not dive into that. Let's not dive into that. I love Connor Converse, but he is mad about the game state right now. I watched his video on it. We'll bring him on eventually. Looking forward to all the historical PoE2 videos after the fact. I know. I need to get my freaking PoE 1 history series back online. Having a darn daughter really screwed me over. I haven't played Spearfield Tarek Tadros, but it looks really cool. I'm a pillar of the community. God damn it. I have 60,000 subs. I only have 53.9 thousand subs. When and Twitch is really the big one, guys. Twitch is actually more lucrative than a lot of people. Not lucrative. It has a lot more reach than people realize. So like when DM streams like the interview, he'll get way more viewers than myself, and a lot more people will like react to it, as opposed to if I did a post launch interview. It was different when it was launched, like the week before launch, and like Quinn was watching it. I still can't believe that. That was so crazy. Oh my god. It's just very different. It makes complete business, logical, professional sense to not go with me. I got the Asmon boost too, bro. He's reacted to 6-7 of my videos. I interviewed Asmon about PoE2, which is I interviewed the #1 Twitch streamer 4 months ago. Pretty freaking wild. I've talked to Connor and people in his community before. I missed the 3, but it doesn't matter. 53. No, it's a ton of reach. No. I'm not complaining. I'm just saying in comparison to, Ziz, DM, if the devs are going best bang for their buck, they're spending 2 hours on an interview. All right, they can fit 2 or 3 interviews in. If I'm number 4, right, they're not moving me up, right? They're gonna do the best bang for the buck. Makes total sense. Yeah, I still can't believe I interviewed Asmon. It's freaking insane. I realized it today. Yeah, I do get the. It's true. I do get the invites. So I saw a barricade video. He seems like a chill guy. I've never watched it. Sorry, I saw one in my feed. I watched a little. I didn't watch the full thing. It was like a No Rest for the Wicked dev interview, and I haven't played No Rest for the Wicked, so I didn't really have any context. But he seems like a really chill guy. Maybe I will. I stand with Lance. PoE2 must stand with Lance. Are you talking about El Capitan Lance? Is that who you're talking about? New base stands for Lance. Oh no, there's not some drama, is there? I had Lance was like the 3rd person I had on the pod back before PoE2 launched. I haven't chatted with him ever since though. He's so nice. He at the second LA event, Lance came up and like said hi to my wife and I. And he told us congratulations on my wife's pregnancy. It was very, very nice. Dat Mods? I have not watched Dat Mods. Oh, there is beef. Oh god. Okay, let's not talk about it. I didn't know that there was I'm not okay. Well, never mind. Let's not explore. I was joking. Oops. Let's not talk about drama, guys. Maybe do more smaller creators, bro. If you guys have any smaller creator suggestions, please join my Discord and post them in my Discord in Try Talk. I'd appreciate that. I rely on YouTube recommending me smaller creators. Yeah, I gotta do Valina. Valina has to come on 100% because I'm probably gonna rate her again. She was really nice in LA as well. Okay. That was really great. Loved chatting with Snoo. Loved chatting with all of you beforehand. That was a good talk, you guys. It was a good talk. I hope people enjoyed it. I thought that was I think I was quite rambly for a while. I apologize for that. But I thought it was a pretty positive talk before the talk. And then the talk was also positive. Look at me being super confusing. Lazy Exile is great. I have reached out to her via Twitter, but I don't think she's active on Twitter. So maybe I should reach out in a different way. Uncle J. Wait, isn't Uncle J is there's an Uncle J in our chat. Is Uncle J a small creator as well? Okay, let's see. Exiles. Do I recognize anybody streaming PoE2? Oh boy. Do we go to a low number viewer? Do you guys want to blast somebody? Do we blast somebody on Twitch? Do a fun raid? Yeah, I saw Uncle J in the chat. So he's a creator as well? I had no idea. Okay. Okay. I know. Yeah, I know he's in the chat. I didn't know he was a creator. That's cool. Okay, I'll check him out. Jorgen, yeah, I chatted with Jorgen before launch too. Jorgen's great. Sammy Caps is not streaming. PoE2 greater than PoE1. Oh my gosh, Snoobay. Okay, I'm not even reading that. How dare you? How could you do this? Oh, is Miso streaming? Miso streaming? Miso's not streaming. Okay. Okay, that's a hate streamer. We've got a chill streamer. Okay. Auto bet. Oh, and we lost him. My graphics are going nuts? No, there's not. They're totally not going nuts. New is based. Okay, you guys are funny. I'm looking for a chill stream. Miso is not streaming on Twitch. I'm rating on Twitch, you guys. I can't rate on YouTube. I'm looking for a chill streamer. Okay. Oh my gosh. All right. It's gonna be up within an hour. I'm gonna upload it right after I finish. Also, the YouTube VOD is gonna be up. I have never heard of EOD gamers. I can look into them. I'm willing to have pretty much anybody on. Chill. Okay, we got a chill Florida man. Okay. We're taking a risk. I do not know who this is. Chill Florida man, guys. Okay? Guys, I'm wearing pants. Don't worry. Look. Nothing. Oh. Good. All good. I can stand up. Okay. All right. Have fun with the chill Florida man. Thank you all so much for tuning in to the stream today. I will talk to you all next Tuesday. I am going to go to I'm going to Canada and I'm going to see some plays. It's going to be a really fun weekend for me. Might not see any videos, but you know, this chat will be up. Thanks so much for tuning in. Have a fantastic weekend and night, everybody. Bye-bye.